I just know.
All right, we'll call this meeting in order. Roll call. It looks like everybody except District 3 in the court clerk's office is present. Notice of the meeting was properly posted on April 1st, 2026. Item number 1, discussion possible action regarding the minutes of March the 5th of 2026.
Motion to.
Got a motion and a second to approve the minutes of March the 5th. Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Cody, I do have a question.
Yeah.
Included in the minutes were a list of the questions that you had submitted to the trust. I know that Budget Board gave them money, but did they ever bother to answer those questions? There were 17 questions, I believe.
Let's do that on item 2. We're on item 2 right now.
That's fine. It was included in the minutes.
Yeah. I just figured
Whatever you want to do.
Okay, discussion possible action regarding a financial and operational update from the Oklahoma County Detention Center. I don't see anybody from the Detention Center here. Joe, go ahead and ask your question.
So, included in the minutes, as I just mentioned, were a list of 17 questions that were provided to the jail trust. This was prior to the Budget Board taking the action that they did. However, I think some of those answers would be informative as we look to receive their estimate needs here in the coming days. Did they ever reply to those questions?
No, I have not. They've not replied to me anyway, and I would assume that they would since I was the one that sent them the questions. But no, the answer is no.
Also, as it relates to item 2, I was reviewing the trust agenda. I know they're having a special meeting today. And I think it's either item 1 or item 2, I can't recall. And I won't get the specific verbiage right, but I think it says something to the effect of discussion possible action to approve a budget and estimate needs for FY 26-27. I'm very concerned about that language. The first thing the trust needs to do, in my opinion, is just to approve their estimate needs. There's no way in heck anyone can improve a budget at this point, especially them, because they don't know
Without
what
the
their
revenue
revenues
center.
are.
Yeah.
And none of us in here are approving a budget. We're just reviewing the estimate of needs. So what I don't want is to be in the same position this time next year where they say, well, we adopted a budget on April the 2nd. No.
Yeah.
So
Looking at the agenda, I had the same concerns that you did. I'm hopeful that what they would do today is approve the estimate of needs to come over so that there could be a request of funds, and then it would go back to them, and they would be able to analyze what funds are available from the county, as well as their other funds, and then come up with a final budget based upon, right? Because, I mean, we do that here. We'll have some conversations about some stuff preliminarily, but we don't even get really heavy into estimate of needs discussions until we know what the revenues are going to be when the assessor's office has that available. So I would hope that they would just follow likewise.
Well, and as Mr. Warren likes to point out on page 6 of their own indenture, their budget is set by the Budget Board, and they're the final arbiter of their budget. And so that it would probably need to be pointed out to the trust, the nuance there, because they're free to do whatever they want to do. Whether it's an actual thing or not is a complete other matter, but they can, that's independent body. Whether it is actually that in fact or not is a whole other matter.
Well, as far as I know, Commissioner Davidson will be here for this afternoon's trust meeting, and I will inform them of that beforehand.
And to your point, Mike, that the indenture says that the Budget Board is the sole determinant of the general fund aspect of their budget. But, the indenture, and Mr. Warren talked about this as well, and we've talked about this numerous times. They have the ability to do things that we do not do. They also have contracts that they negotiate that bring in revenue. So there is other revenue available to them, and I just don't want to be in the same position we're in this year, next year, because they said, well, we adopted a budget. I mean, the whole reason we're in the position we're in this year is because they went off of an estimate of needs, despite knowing what their revenues were. And I mean, if there's this,
I think everybody in the world would agree a budget is marrying your anticipated revenues with your anticipated expenses. I think it'd be tough to.
yeah, but I don't think, we got that recognition until 3 weeks ago from them. So better to bring it up now and everybody be singing from the same page.
I have a question too, I'm not sure it's appropriate for item 2.5, having to do with the action taken budget board took. It was stressed that all 3 agenda items that gave them more money was not to exceed amounts, which I understand that. In one of the, I think it's item 4 discussion, Mr. Davidson kept mentioning to be reviewed. And what we did yesterday, usually once we, give someone money, we give them money. We don't go back and review it. So I didn't know if we need to talk about that. I didn't know if it'd be appropriate under watch list, because we do have them still on the watch list, or under this item, but kind of what that looks like. Are we?
I think it's up to this group and the elected officials. To me, whenever I was trying to get at the bottom of the discussion between Mr. Stein and Commissioner Davidson, when Larry was talking about making sure that these monies are spent on constitutional things, I wasn't advocating necessarily one way or the other, whether we should limit it or shouldn't limit it. My point was, if the board does want to limit it, that needs to be discussed on the front end instead of what Miles was talking about, which was putting the toothpaste back in the tube after money had already been spent and you do the review. It makes it a little bit difficult to do it like that. So I think that it's a matter of whatever the elected officials want to do in the approach. It's not.
Well, what if, and I don't know logistically how difficult this may be, but I do know that the Criminal Justice Authority submits a monthly invoice, right, Jessica? Are those invoices that they submit, are they itemized?
It just says benefits, that shows what's.
I wonder
reviewed,
if they could itemize it, and perhaps maybe that would be helpful. Again, logistically, I don't know how difficult that would be, but that way we could see all of the line items before, in fact, we pay that invoice.
And we request that of others, that we
Mhm.
do reimbursement, so I think that's a great idea.
And any associating reports or, supporting paperwork, to kind of justify and show the exact line item numbers within that invoice.
That's a great idea.
Well, and I think, Mike, I'm not trying to speak for your office, but my interpretation of what you guys were wanting was kind of what you had just mentioned, knowing exactly what those dollars are spent on, and that you wanted them spent on constitutional items, not statutory or discretionary. And I think Larry wanted them to be on notice that, because that's the only fair thing to do. You don't want to come back and say, well, you're under this impression that you have this money to do, X, Y, or Z with it, but budget board has a completely different impression of what you can do with it. That's kind of pulling the rug out from underneath of you.
Yeah, I think
Could
that's
be,
what.
and I think that's what he was getting at, was up front they would know what the anticipation was from this side, so that they wouldn't be shocked on the back end if we do get, and I think that was a great idea that you had on some delineation, some additional delineation on their invoice that they send over.
It's just additional oversight, that's all it is. It's just.
And it's important to do that also for the new funding that you're providing, because we're on those invoices, we'll reference each resolution of where that funding came from, and then having them itemize what they're paying for. That would be something that I can request them to do as well.
Is that something that this group would like?
I would say itemizing the additional, because if you are going to reference the resolutions on the PO, then for that amount, then under each resolution, break out what it's going to go for. I guess you could add the 3 together and then break it out.
Right.
Don't want to get too much into details.
What's the timing of their first invoice, you think?
April.
Hey, Jim, can I call you back in just a few minutes?
They've
On the
already-
front end of April or the end of
Second,
April?
So,
April what?
so they,
At the
just
end
sent
of
me
it?
their April first invoice, which I cannot pay because it'll bring me over the 90% rule until those monies are freed up. And then, I've requested them already an itemized, based off of that resolution, invoices each month for April, May, and June, of the new funding that you're provided. I sent that email today, so I have not received, any invoice yet, but I received the April first invoice, but I can't, like I said, pay that one yet until
Didn't they
those funds
also-
are released.
Get a 2.6 or whatever their normal monthly is? Wasn't
So
this
they-
the
they-
last month they were gonna get
They
that?
do have April in there.
April, so they
I mean,
get roughly
April.
2.4 million monthly. We've fronted two months already, so.
But
They
they've
have,
got
they
that
have
for
1
us.
month left, yes, you're right.
Yes, they have
The
one,
month of
they have
April.
1 month left. I just can't pay it
I
until
mean,
our
that'd be
90%
pretty
rule
cool.
is updated,
On my resume.
because it brings me over for
Any
general government.
anticipation on that?
That was an email I was gonna send to Christie today.
What's that?
The
90%
90%
rule
rule,
and
that's the
when
clerk's
we're-
office. Okay, clerk's office will need to let me know when we can lift that, so I can pay that invoice.
So the invoice you have them for April that you're holding, that's just their normal month.
Yes,
Their last.
their last
Last
payment, roughly 2.4 million that they received each month.
It's not for what the budget board this week did
Yes,
this week.
it's not.
Okay, that's what I was wondering,
That's
when
just
we
their
could
normal
anticipate that.
Estimate of need,
Maybe we could, hopefully we could get an answer from them.
the clerk's office, in regards to when I can pay that.
No, an answer from the trust as to whether they intend to give us a detailed invoice or whether they
Oh, yeah, I
continue
can-
to just
I can
give us a
call
one
them.
pager.
Yeah.
And then, if not, the budget board could take action to request that, to say that, if we're gonna pay this money, we need a detailed invoice.
I may be wrong, but I don't think Mr. Kimberly would have an issue with that.
Okay.
Then would we, who's gonna review it? I like the detail on it, but then,
I think this body should review it and make a recommendation to the budget board.
So both bodies would probably require specials for that. Just anticipating that, which, I mean, it's fine.
I want to offer a different opinion. The budget board, my understanding, of the indenture and all the previous legal advice, and maybe something's changed, is that we cannot direct how those funds are spent. Right, otherwise, listen, I'm going back to what the origination of this beast, the discussions that we've had numerous times, et cetera. And I understand it was the intent of the budget board in funding them that they would be used in a constitutional manner. However, they are responsible for using them in the constitutional manner, not the budget board. And I wonder if in doing what we're trying to do, which I think
Joe, I
Makes some
understand your
sense.
concern going back to whether, when Aaron was talking about a sham trust and we had to split everything out and have everything separate and they have to pay their way for whatever services they get from the
I
county.
mean, that's why they're paying your transportation costs at the sheriff's office, because of that very thing.
Right, otherwise we would have just left
The
that
money in our budget.
$775,000 or whatever in the county's budget and given to the sheriff to run it, but we split it and gave it to them because of that ruling, but
It was taken out of our budget.
well, taken out, yeah, it was removed from our at the time, but, because I wasn't there, but it was removed from the sheriff's budget and then allocated over for that particular purpose. But I think two things. First of all, we live on a completely different planet than we did then. The sands have shifted, the law is malleable, and we have had different determinations on that, I think. But secondly, I think Commissioner Lowe stated it well at Budget Board that I think Budget Board and us, at least my interpretation of what I've heard is that we have funded them at the beginning of the year. constitutionally appropriate. However, because they spent off of an estimate of needs form and not off of an actual approved budget to where you have revenues married with your expenses, that they have gotten themselves into an issue. And so
I agree.
budget board came in to bail them out, and I think it's a separate conversation than your general appropriation that we approve for the beginning of the year versus we don't have, we got to just get out of the mess to be able to move forward. But to get out of the mess, I think you could look a little bit harder on where those dollars are going.
CJA might be the appropriate body to review the invoices as they are working to get more involved in understanding the finances and the budget.
The trust.
That's
The
definitely
trust
true.
Yeah.
That's definitely true.
Aaron, I love your optimism. They've never adopted a budget, which they're statutorily required to do.
But I do
So
think that they're open to making changes now that we're in this situation, so it might be a good time. I think the members have expressed wanting more information about the finances, so.
But that
Well, but they can do, we don't really direct them. If they know that we are going to want an itemized invoice, we being budget board, so the budget board can look at it and determine if they want to expend all of the dollars for that. That doesn't preclude them from talking to their own staff and saying, hey, provide us with this information so that we can independently look at it before or concurrently it going over to the county. So, I mean, they can do, and I hope that they do. I agree with you. I'm hopeful. I think that's a great idea. We can't force them to do that. I do think that they probably need to consider having more meetings than once a month, I mean, based on what has transpired over the last 6 years. I think it's probably something that needs to be done, and that would allow them more time to be able to dive in deeper.
This is a unique situation. I would think since we finally asked them to meet and do a formal request before 9, then they sat through everything we did the other day and maybe asked for the invoice to be approved by them.
I think going back to Joe's, maybe what Joe's saying though is that even this afternoon, there's no doubt that they're gonna approve the $45 million ask that Kimberly's gonna ask for. So what do we do with that number when it gets over here? Because then we can't go back and say, well, we asked the trust to adopt a budget, now they've adopted a budget, and then we're still not gonna fund it because you don't have the money.
Well, but I think to Joe's point, you can't adopt a budget until you know what your revenues are. I think your boss used the word king for the day the other day. If I was king for the day and designed the process, it would be, they have a conversation with their administration and their finance team to determine what they would like to see for next fiscal year as far as operational needs. They have those discussions and say, yeah, we think we should try to do X, Y, and Z. This all looks good. How much is that going to cost us? It's going to cost us, somebody said $45 million. It's going to cost us $45 million. Okay, our anticipated revenues are what? Well, we know what the contract is with municipals. We can look at our historical averages on commissary and on telephones. Those are our other revenue streams. So let's say that's $5 million. I don't know what it is, but let's say it's $5 million. Our total expense that we would like to operate under is 45. We got 5 million. Let's go ask the county for 40. And then, so they submit over here. The county says, hey, we can do 35. I'm just pulling numbers out. And then they go back and they say, okay, so the county can do 35. So we got 35 and we got 5. We got to find 5 million more. Where's that revenue coming from? They determine where that revenue is coming from. They put it in there and they set their budget, or they determine we don't have a path on the extra $5 million, so we have to set our budget at $40 million. But they can't set it until they know what their revenues are. I would think.
I mean, is anybody really gonna sit here and pretend we're not gonna be in this exact same spot this time next year? I mean, legitimately, if you do, I mean, I actually do have quite a bit of land and I'll sell it to you.
Oceanfront.
Oceanfront,
So,
is it not?
Do what?
Oceanfront on,
Oceanfront property
Yeah.
in Arizona.
It'll be oceanfront prices.
And here, this thought just popped in my mind. If we're having to go to all of this trouble to ensure that a separate legal entity performs their duties responsibly, what do we need that entity for? Right? This group, the budget board, as my boss said, accountable to the voters, could do the same thing and do it more transparently. So, I just, Cody, you're right. The law changes, interpretations change, but
for the record, I don't think the law has actually
Well,
changed.
the interpretation.
Maybe some interpretation.
If the law was clear, you wouldn't need lawyers.
But just a cautionary. I don't think there's anything wrong with it putting on those resolutions and those transfers that it is the intent of the budget board that these would be used. We shouldn't even have to say it, but I'm one person sitting around this table, y'all.
Yeah, I think we are in a unique situation, and this is supplemental funding for bailing out of the situation, and
Right, my boss used that word too, bailing out.
the language was up to, and so, I mean, I think the budget board's intent was clear that the number could be this amount or less. There was no, definite it will be this number, because it was all up to, and it was all one-time monies, not ongoing. So it was clear that budget board was operating under the auspices of fixing a one-time problem and moving funds over there, and not for that to be an ongoing into future fiscal years.
What do we want to make, that's all we can really do is make recommendations to budget board. Do we want to make a recommendation to the budget board that we'd like to see as far as the supplemental money? That those are itemized on the invoices? Budget board can take it from there and have their own discussion.
Well, perhaps that would satisfy what was mentioned by the budget board as far as,
Review.
right,
That monthly review.
yes, right.
So make a recommendation to budget board that the criminal justice authority, as they submit invoices for the dollars that were one time allocated to them at the previous budget board meeting, would accompany a detailed invoice that specifies what each of those expenses are and whether that's a constitutional expense or not.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we got a motion, a second. Do we have further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, let's have it. All right, item number 3, discussion possible action regarding an update on employee benefits.
Morning, John.
Good morning.
How are you?
It may not be a good morning after I get.
Oh, boy.
You just set them aside?
Dang it, John.
Motion to strike the item.
It is $5 million.
Are we gonna defer or defund this item?
By deferring, I think we save money between.
It's available on your tablet. You'll open it there, please.
So this is the second month of this
That
report.
bad, huh?
Yeah, so this is the second month of using this report. Previously, I would focus on our two largest expenses, medical and prescription claims, and then our revenue sources, but last month as directed, I broke the whole fund down, and this is through the end of March. A lot of ours are timing issues to it, as it's not, there's lags in receiving funds, lags in receiving invoices for payment, but first I'm gonna focus on medical, because that's the biggest thing. Medical through the end of March is up 16% or $2.2 million. If you remember prior months, we were turning at 25, we went down to 20. So the 16% is better than we have been at. Last month it was at 19%.
Are we same number of weeks paid?
No, we paid several more weeks this month. I didn't reflect that. I'm just going on what was paid. Just basically what came in the door and what we paid. So it can get tricky when you count, because we can pay more invoices for a bigger span of time, but basically what we got in the door and what we paid with this new reporting. So that's good that came down somewhat. It was 19% last month. Last April, we had a huge medical claims month. We had $2.4 million in claims. This month, we've already got $1.8 million in the door, and I've been told we're having a $1 million check register today that's coming in. So we've had those in the past. We used to have a lot more frequently. And again, as a reminder on our medical plan, we have a carrier network. If you don't know what that means, the big carriers, they have the lowest prices. We have the lowest price carrier network to get low pricing on the health plan. They also allow us to get even lower pricing through Connect Benefit, which no other carrier allows. So we have multiple sources to get low pricing. Our members are just utilizing our medical plan. Hold that one for after the budget board till we get additional funding.
You said we got many high claimants this year. Do we have very many that are approaching stop
Not
loss?
at all. So what we're seeing is lots of big cancer cases pop up, lots of complicated spine surgeries, and we're paying low dollar for those surgeries compared to other places, but they still occur. I think we have 20 new claimants pop up for over $100,000 each. Some of those cases are ongoing. A lot of them aren't. We don't predict them to hit stop loss this fiscal year because our pricing's lower. But it is what it is. So obviously the members are seeking treatment, they need the care, but we got to pay for it. So we're watching that very closely, watching where that will trend. After March, of course, we have April, May, and June, 3 months left in the year. So watching that very closely. Prescription, on a brighter note, prescription claims trending very well at 0%. So that's a positive note. Still having high utilization, but compared to last fiscal year, we're at exactly 0% increase. Really, $24,000 less, but I call that zero. And a lot of those are timing issues. Invoices come out; those are split through months. So we have to wait for funding and pay them. But prescription plan is running great. One thing to note on our prescription plan, this is just a matter of fact. After had a monthly update with them, about almost half of our prescription costs are now coming from GLP-1s, and that's just putting that out there on our plan.
Is that prescription though shifted from that prescription line down to the county pharmacy line to some extent?
It really
Or
doesn't.
am I
matter.
looking at it wrong?
Yeah, it doesn't really matter where they get it. We pay the same cost basically.
Right, but you've got RX claims and then you've got county pharmacy as a second
I'll
line.
get to
So
that.
okay,
So
sorry.
it's totally different. So when I get to, I'll explain that. So
Okay.
the county pharmacy acts just as any other pharmacy. They run it through our insurance. So we're pre-fronting, and that's another issue, is I'm pre-fronting the county pharmacy so they can buy prescriptions. They follow it through insurance and they have to wait for good reimbursements through insurance. And that's where it comes out of our prescription claims. So those claims are processed under insurance, but we have to pay for the actual prescriptions up front, and we wait for reimbursements.
But to Mike's statement there, if we're filling it, if county employees and dependents are filling at the county pharmacy on these, the pricing may be the same as what we're paying outside, but we're getting the
More money
click
back.
fees and all of that. We're getting more rebates and everything to offset those.
It helps, for
Right.
sure. It absolutely helps our costs, no doubt. If everybody filled at the county pharmacy, they're running at capacity now. If you saw the BOCC meeting, good thing is, before, they ran some prescriptions through a lot for the indigent and other stuff. And they had a pretty high volume, but nothing like now. They didn't run things through insurance. Totally different process. There were lots of paper. We upgraded their software yesterday. They're going to get that where they can run it through like a regular pharmacy where you sign up for EPAD, goes through insurance, all the audit trails. It'll make them a lot faster where they can process more.
John, what are your projections for the last 3 months of the FY for rebates?
So rebates and prescription, we put that on there. $2 million. So the good news is $2 million in pharmacy reimbursements and rebates into this month in April. We're expected to get a prescription rebate. That's going to be about $1 million. That's going to help with funding for sure. So the county pharmacies definitely helped, and those rebates help.
And are you getting those monthly?
Yeah, those come about every quarter.
Okay.
Every quarter. And those trickle in from prior claims, so it's all based kind of on
So the
utilization.
one you get at the end of April, probably be the last one for the FY.
July 1st, we're getting another one kind of, so it's a timing issue, you know. So just be aware as we get through the last 3 months, you know, some of that money, although it's allocated or it's available, budget board allocates, then we have to do a transfer, do checks, and it takes us 2 more weeks to even pay anything. So just know I might ask for some special meetings, and the only reason I do is because we need to pay some stuff and get that money faster.
John, you had indicated a number for the watch list that we, I think, included last time or last month. We've met so many times I've lost track. That number was 300,000. Is that number from what you're seeing
No, so and this
good? Need to go higher?
Yeah, it needs to go higher. It's a good question, Joe. So I calculated based on current expenses, just through the end of March. Took those averages, put them out for April, May, and June. If we paid the same amount as our averages in the last 3 months, we would be about $790,000, in the red. But that's getting everything out the door, paying everything. Again, we push some stuff, and some stuff's time that we can push into the next fiscal year. But that's just totally based on averages paid per month. Take those averages, put them out 3 months. That's how much money we'd be over. And medical claims might go back down. Something might change, but that's just based on averages currently. Snapshot.
So from 300,000 to
790.
790.
790. And that's not taking account any of this April stuff that's happening right now.
Well, it seems to me the history is last part of the year, medical claims always seem to be higher than the beginning part of the year. So if we're using averages for the 790 over the entire fiscal year, I would anticipate at the end of the day that number being a little bit higher because at least in my 13 years here, it seems like every year we're in the same discussion and the claims seem to be higher at the back end. It's nothing that you and your team can do. I mean, it's just
purely based on utilization.
Yeah.
Purely based on where people. The good news is our people, on the most part, are going through Connect Benefit, which is saving us some extra money. But we have some super high utilization. Super high utilization. People are getting surgery, doctor, stuff they can't avoid. And retirees too.
Well, I think your team's doing a great job. The Connect benefit is great. I think they work with our employees really well. It saves us money. I will say though, I had to have a little abdominal surgery a week and a half ago, and the surgeon decided to take my 6-pack away, and I did not authorize that. So.
You think you're funny.
So
That was sad whenever I looked.
That's funny. So,
but no, they do a great job, and the pharmacy does too. Following up, reaching out. I'm really proud of what they do.
Thank you. And again, to say, I'm really proud of the pharmacy staff. They're working their tails off. They're so busy. We do more volume than a 3,000 population town pharmacy. We're doing lots of volume. They're busy, and but they're doing a good job. So the county pharmacy, this is to Mike's question too, and that's kind of a spin line. So we have to purchase drugs, run through insurance, and we wait to get the reimbursements through rebates and reimbursements. So another challenge that I have is I have to front the county pharmacy about $450,000 to $500,000 every month, so we can purchase drugs. But then we'll eventually get those reimbursements, but they trickle through over time, and then we have meetings to get them allocated. So it's a process. It's not just instant. Any questions on medical or prescription or anything else on?
So just to be sure I understand it, basically if the county pharmacy was not there and we paid the same, which we don't obviously because that obviously saves us some money, but you really for RX add those two numbers together.
And then deduct rebate line from it.
Okay.
Get the net number.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. You deduct that money coming back in for reimbursements.
Did you say over half
Almost half.
was on GLP?
Almost half. And our prescription company our PBM has many big groups, many famous employers. And they said only about 2 or 3 cover GLP-1s, and they've never seen anything like our utilization. So it's running about half our cost, about $6 million a year, half our prescription costs.
And you would anticipate once
goes on
individuals reach
forever.
their
Yeah.
I don't know
goal,
that they
medical
ever,
goal weight or whatever, that maybe
They've opened it up to
that
so
would
many other
increase.
things. But I mean, I'm not saying either way, because a lot of places don't cover it, some do. But our utilization's just out the roof on those. And there's medical criteria members have to meet to get them. So like, if I don't meet the medical criteria, there's gatekeeping functions built into that plan. So that's all I have really on the expense side. Some of the other categories are timing, when we paid invoices, et cetera. Really see an increase in dental this year. Utilization's up. We have more people on the plan, especially with medical staff over there. So utilization's a little bit up on the dental. Usually dental's pretty static, dental and vision. Doesn't go up or down too much. Really the drivers are medical and prescription claims. Revenue, of course, revenue's up because on the premium side, because we increased it 3.6 and 3%. We still have $4.4 million to transfer left available. Last year at this time, we transferred more money into the plan from our budget.
Why is that?
Well, we
Just
have more
timing.
weeks paid now though, right?
You
More weeks paid
Yeah.
now though.
yeah.
So we have more weeks paid and we have fewer weeks reimbursed?
Here, I don't understand.
Or, well, on the general fund premiums,
So those are just
Transfer
think about that as a pot of money. And at the budget board, I say, let's go ahead and move $2 million of that pot of money. So it's kind of general fund premiums are all in one and the transfers all in one thing. You know, if we had a cash, I could move that all at once, but we don't, so we move it in chunks, okay? And we just, last year, this fiscal year, we moved a little bit more into the account, if that makes sense.
You are actually free to go ahead and do what you need to do.
Okay.
Cash wise, we're good.
So we just moved a little more money. So one budget board last year, we moved more money. It's just a matter of timing, that's it. So we have about 600,000 extra in that general fund and transfer thing. And last year, if you remember, BET moved 500,000 in. And then we had, before we started doing the general fund premiums, last fiscal year in June, before the fiscal year started, we were still collecting through payroll. So those June premiums went into that fiscal year. So it's kind of some different things occurred last fiscal year, timing wise. But overall, our revenues increased. So we're watching everything closely. The really good thing is that pharmacy and RX reimbursements, we're getting more money than we're paying out for the pharmacy. So that's good. And that's really helping. Overall, I'm watching everything very closely. April's going to be interesting. And hopefully that's kind of a one-time thing, but we're watching it closely.
John, I like this report, but I kind of miss a few things off the old report.
Tell me what you want and I can add it.
Okay.
I can make that report.
Maybe both of them.
I can do both of them.
Because the other one, you really saw, and it would say how many weeks, and you had the weekly average.
Yeah.
Can you
I
just
like
attach
that.
both?
Yeah, and what I'll do is basically put the weeks on everything, because everything's timing. It's not just apples versus apples, because even dental vision, everything else, even vendor invoices, it's a timing thing. You know, how many invoices? So I think I could be helpful. I could add another column, so how many weeks versus how many weeks paid.
And then off the old report, I did like at the bottom, it was always bottom right corner, would tell, that's how we got the 300, or it would have shown 790
Yeah.
somewhere.
So
The
John,
net, yeah.
yeah, so what would be wrong with, I like the detail in this, and so
Okay.
when we want to really dive in, we can look at this, but then I liked the overview of the other document as kind of a snapshot, and you can just kind of look and see really fast, and it's got the information. Can you just provide both
Absolutely.
documents, instead of adding a column on this with the
Yeah.
weeks, just provide the other document that
Yeah,
that you had
absolutely.
been.
Absolutely. Yeah, because I think that provides some additional insight. That's kind of how we've always reported. Two biggest expenses, the week, so we can kind of see if it's apples to apples or how far we're off. Because one fiscal year, we might have paid a whole month more of claims, and that's why, it's not a utilization issue. This year, it's a utilization issue for sure. Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Take care of your barber.
Amen.
I'll make a motion to receive the update.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second to receive the update on employee benefits. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Mr.
Item-
Chairman, I remember you're seeing it after 9:30, and I know we've got people here to do their estimated needs, and they were on time slots.
Okay,
If we go to that
yeah,
item,
we can do that. Where,
I think it's.
But I'm sure the election board's not busy.
Yeah,
Yeah, nothing to do. I mean, sit here all afternoon, can't you?
I think it's kind of on item 10.
okay. Barnes is first.
So we have David, we have election board, we have Jessica, and then Andy.
Okay. Yeah, for some reason I was thinking we just had Jessica today. If you want, okay.
We split her up.
All right. Baby, you wanna go?
Absolutely. I would love to. Thank you, Christie.
You're welcome.
Thank you all for having us here today. Mr. Comstock is with me today. Some of you may not know him, but I imagine most of you have. He's been around for 16 years, something like that. And I haven't managed to run him off yet, so. If it's okay with you, I'd like to run through my special revenues first because they're just very minimal. No fiscal liability to the county on any of those. It'll take very little time and then we'll look at the general fund. The first one I have is 1250-5500 local emergency planning committee. Those funds are held in accordance with state statute by the county. I think it's $9,600, whatever in there. Occasionally there's some revenue that may come from the Department of Environmental Quality as a grant because of information we distribute to the fire service around the county. It's usually $1,000 or something like that. They also have another account, and that's where those funds usually go. This account, the balance in this account has not changed in several years. There's no fiscal liability to the county for that. Second one is 1251-5500 emergency management performance grant. This is designated as emergency management special revenue. That has been in place even predating me for 20 years now. This is a federal funded pass-through grant through the State Office of Emergency Management. It was $60,000 a year paid in quarterly increments. And that, because of the changes that we've seen in FEMA in the last year or so, and changes at the State Office of Emergency Management, to be perfectly honest with you, I am not counting on these funds anymore. That's a significant issue for us because consistently we've been able to roll this money over, and this is really by our vehicle. That's why our staff has a decent vehicle to drive, and we do some special projects with that. So in future years, this is going to have implications for the emergency management budget, and will, in my opinion, shift some liability, fiscal liability, potential liability to our general fund account because $60,000 a year for a department our size is pretty substantial fund. So I just want to give you a heads up on that. And there is currently no budgetary implications, no request, fiscal liability in this regard either. I would mention that, we just moved into a brand new facility, and you all played a part in that, as did the elected officials. We are extremely grateful for that. We're in a wonderful facility. And we've been able to leverage in great part this special revenue fund, this emergency management performance grant fund, because we're able to roll it over and we had a pretty decent fund balance there. And we've been able to leverage that significantly. I don't know if you remember from last year's budget process, I only requested $90,000 for moving into another $5 million facility. And so we've been able to use these funds for a lot of important projects and components, and it's served us very well over the years. So I hate to see it go, but we'll see. Next one is 1251-5501, we call combination account. This is actually 3 different funding streams over the years that were combined into one account, just to simplify. One was fire management assistant grants. If you have large-scale wildland fires, you can apply wildly against going on for a fire management assistance grant, and there are reimbursement funds sometimes, when approved, made available. That portion is down to $2.88, which obviously is non-education. FEMA pilot project overruns fund from the 2007 ice storm. Those funds are almost completely expended. I did receive FEMA approval to utilize those pilot project funds that were left over for outdoor warning projects, and that's what we're running the maintenance on our outdoor warning system. Sorry,
Is that the funds we gave?
in part, yes. And the third component is the infamous Luther copper test, and we call it the Luther copper caper. There are no revenues anticipated in any of those 3 areas unless we happen to have a large-scale wildland fire and file against that. That FMAG, Fire Management Assistance Grant, it's another form of disaster declaration like we would have a tornado, flood, or anything else, but it's specifically for wildland fire. So I'm not anticipating any funds there. Hopefully we won't have those fires. No budgetary implications, request, or other funding liability for the county there. The next one is 1251-5502, Communication Infrastructure Fund. Revenues for this fund come from tower rental at the Spencer Jones Radio Tower. And we now only have 1 tenant on that. T-Mobile pulled their equipment off and they went other directions. There was a buyout, a bunch of corporate changes, and their decisions to change their footprints and utilize other sites caused them to come off of our tower. But we do still have AT&T or New Singular Wireless there. And in FY27, I'm anticipating $22,947 coming from them. That's the only incoming revenue that we're going to have. So that's been reduced also. And there are no requests or budgetary implications in that regard. Any questions on any of the special revenue before I go into the general fund? Those are all really simple. Okay, emergency management general fund. This is obviously our operating budget, and I don't want to brag to people like John and others in my office. We honestly, sincerely work hard to keep our budget fine-tuned. We have never put in exorbitant requests, and we tried to pad or anything like that, and we continue that now. It's a very tight budget, and we're quite blessed to have the funding that we have, and we're able to do the things that we do. The personnel cost that you see reflected there, there is no change in that from what we are currently providing to the employees. There's no COLA built in or anything like that. It's reflective of current rates. Travel request, slight increase. That's due to new employee, and we've got technology continues to drive a lot of training issues, recertifications, and a lot of those kinds of activities. And sadly, a lot of times those conferences and those training opportunities, as others of you know, are not here in the state. So there is some travel expenses associated with that. So I requested $14,633 there. M&O, again, maintaining a constant state of readiness is a key factor for the Office of Emergency Management.
On your
Hang on one second. Brooke, do you have this updated travel number? We have a blank box for the proposed travel budget for.
I have it on here as your 14,633.
Mm-hmm.
And then on your budget,
Yeah, we're showing that blank
it's
box.
pulling travel mileage, it's doing it by line item, not your
Yeah,
total
it's
top
broken
level.
down.
It's broken down. So you have the 4,800, the 14,422.
Oh, I see.
This is just your top level M&O. We're asking each department to budget at their line items and not the top level to capture true expenses for the fiscal year.
Would it,
if we have to reprint these at some point, I'm not asking you to reprint all of them now, but as they get, if they get changed, it's been a long time since I've been on BET. I don't know if they still are organic documents that sometimes change. Can we put the total on the top line too?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
For you. And this is a new estimate and needs template that we rolled out for.
Yeah. I got you. Thank you
Yes,
so
we can
much.
capture that so you can see as a quick snapshot.
Yeah. So that travel figure was 14.
It's on the page right before, 14,633.
Thank you.
You'll see your estimate and need, the grand total at that 882,225. And so your budget, request page actually just gives you an itemized by line item. Which would you like to see on the screen at the very second?
Is it safe to assume, David, that the majority of the small increase you have is the employer premiums that are reflected in the budget and the travel?
On personnel?
Well, just total, if you go back to the previous page.
Your grand total here?
Yeah, the grand total. You're asking for 882 and you have 869.
Yes, that's correct. Premiums and a little bit in capital, that we're still trying to continue the capital projects that we've been doing.
And those are?
Primarily, that's the outdoor warning devices, which, by the way, you had a role in back in November of last year, in the tornado that hit out eastern Oklahoma County. 2 of the new devices that you helped fund were in the direct path of that, so they provided warning to folks. Fortunately, you were taken out, but that's a win. That's helping the public and increasing public safety. Part of that is also 2 cab and chassis units that we provide on a rotating basis to the fire service, and that program continues to move forward. I might note that is an investment now. That is not giving them an entire unit. We buy a cab and chassis, and what they are typically using that for is brush hunter or off-road firefighting equipment. We're kicking in $64,000 as an average. They then have those upfitted and typically cost closer to $225,000. So the benefits we're deriving from that, improving public safety and helping them with suppression equipment, our investment is minuscule compared to what they're kicking in as a match in the project.
Can you scroll to the end of his budget request worksheet, right? I guess right there. So I saw some emails going back and forth about, so I'm kind of confused on, so the second column is gonna be the revised budget for the current fiscal year, right?
Correct.
That does or does not include benefits?
That doesn't include.
It does.
Okay.
Okay,
For 26, no, I'm so sorry. It does not include the health premiums that was referred to include benefits. Is that what you're asking?
yes, but the FY 27 does include benefits.
Correct. Correct.
So it
So then I don't think those,
skews it.
well,
Yeah.
so this
He's
is
just
a
a
micro.
bit, so up here at the top, we go to benefits, health premium.
Yeah.
He has a 0 here because that was referred to employee benefits. So it looks like his budget is increased compared to fiscal year 599 because, I think I want to say last meeting, the meeting before, you all anticipated to include the premiums into 27's budget.
Okay,
Yes,
so on the end again, so just so that we can go through all these and we're able to compare kind of quickly on what's what. So what is it, including benefits, what's gonna be his actual ask? Is that number on there? Is it the 882?
Yes.
782.
882.
Okay.
That's his actual ask.
And then last year it was 873, so it's a difference of $9,000,
87.97. Yeah.
right?
The
Okay.
difference is 87.
And that number includes benefits. The 8797 includes benefits for both years, or no?
Just 27. We're not comparing apples to apples because
Right.
we fund right.
Okay.
26 compared to 27.
That means-
So if we were to include premiums in the budget, he's requesting 880.
It is.
If we decide, or if you all decide to front fund employee benefits, his budget will go to the 782.
Well, what we had talked about a long time ago was that we would, basically, people would put it in their budget so that we could see what the cost was to run that organization, but then it would be expensed out immediately at the beginning of the fiscal year.
And I don't think there's been any change. Unless I'm mistaken, I don't think the budget board has reversed the idea of front funding the benefits.
Sure.
Well, I would think so. Since we don't have an office of personal management, I would think that'd be the best way to do it.
The idea of front funding the benefits hasn't changed. What you said is correct. This will be our third year to do it. So the first year, it was handled where it was put in your budget and we did, and expensed off immediately. And we did that because we didn't want, from year 0 to year 1, we kept it that way.
Okay.
Last year, it never was in your budget to expense out. It was just when the full general fund budget was loaded, it was loaded to the individual departments and offices without benefits.
No,
And
I get that, but people.
But now
spend
we're
their
trying to go
estimates
back.
With it.
Now we're trying to go back, so we
Right.
get back on track. So we do have a year that we're gonna have to.
No, I think what I'm saying though, Christie, is that last year Barnes would have included his benefits in that number. And then when the estimates need came out this year, it's not included. Like, for example, me last year, I included in my estimates of need, the benefits number, even though the county, even though we decided to take it out of the budget, it was still included in the estimates of need.
I see what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Yes.
So the numbers don't jive together. I don't care what the county does on the back end,
Gotcha.
but I think it's gonna be hard for us to figure out what the net difference, what the delta is between 26 and 27 without having a complete picture of what the cost is for that department. Unless I'm just missing something.
And so would it be helpful if we had like one sheet that showed that employee benefits amount? We'd still have to we'd each, as we're doing our analysis, have to manually put that in, but at least if we knew what the number was, that if we'd have done it the same way as the year before, I don't wanna say should have been, but if we'd have done it the same way as the year before, at least we'd be able to plug it in and compare apples to apples. Is that possible to get that?
What she's saying.
It is.
And I think one of the problems here is last year when we did estimate of needs, we did them just like David, well, I mean, it's a different form completely, but the employee premiums were included. I think this whole group thought that we were operating the same way that we did the previous year, but when it was changed, it kind of changed the game a little bit. But the problem is, right now, when this goes into the budget book, it's gonna look like everybody
Yes.
has had these
That's a
big
significant
increases in the budget when they haven't. That has to be, there has to be a way that we change this to reflect actually what differences are.
Like our department has a net savings, but you don't see that. I mean, it looks like you're asking for, $99,000 more, when truly we have a net savings.
Yeah. Because nobody, when they look at the budget book, they're not gonna go to employee benefits and say, oh, okay, look, I can see, an offset here for all of these others. I mean, it's just.
But Brooke, on
Ours is about 2 million.
So on that, but under this, and I'm calling for salary comp page just because that's what I've done for the last however long. It includes last year's benefits, so why don't that number pull over?
Right.
So I just captured the,
Yeah, so like I noticed whenever I was doing mine, on the salary comp page where you go down and you put what your, you fill out the 2 separate categories, what you had
Yes.
last year,
Right.
what you have this year.
Mhm.
Both, the
Yeah,
employee benefits section is there for both FY 26 and FY 27. But FY 27 is the only one that pulls over to the budget request worksheet.
that is because the new template is pulling directly what is out of Munis, what was actually imported for that budget for your department. And so because we front funded everything to employee benefits, that funds
There's nothing to pull over from Munis.
not
I
your.
see what you're saying. So,
Well, then we might need to
Actual
manually,
activity in Munis.
so the budget request worksheet is not pulling from the other page, it's pulling from the report out of Munis.
Correct.
And again, I was out when we had these trainings, so I was not able to attend, so
No, you're okay.
hand up, I admit that. So I probably could have asked those questions then, but I was, as I was going through looking at some of these, I was like, gosh, the numbers, and I literally just sitting here, was too stupid to realize until just now that was my discrepancy in my office when I was looking at these.
Yes, this is
So,
your actual budget that each department received, not including the health premiums.
so could we manually, since it's using the Munis report to pull over into columns, can you manually go in to these estimated needs and input last year's
I sure can.
benefit amount, and then it'll take that 99,000
Yes.
and balance it?
Rick actually did that on the court clerk side, but yes. we can do that for everyone.
That's what we were talking about, right?
So you just wanna reflect 26's budget, premiums for each department, though it was not included in there.
Sorry, David, didn't mean to hijack.
No, you're
you.
fine.
I was
No, not
just,
at all.
yeah,
Trust me, I'm not a numbers guy, and the forms.
I thought I wouldn't either when I started reading it.
Well, it's good to establish this now because this is the manner in which we'll look at all the others.
And
So
this is
you're our
what I
guinea
have
pig.
going first. I like
Uh-huh.
that. I would mention on the capital outlay, I mentioned the 2 cab chassis, I mentioned 2 outdoor warning devices. The outdoor warning devices have been on state contract, currently they are coming off of state contract. And the numbers that I used here to request those, we do not know how solid those are. We're actually anticipating possibly $3,000 to $5,000 additional on each of those. And if that's the case, we can obviously, if approved through the process, I can obviously still procure one. But in order to do the second one, I may have to come back for September supplement, or we'll look at other things.
I've heard through the grapevine that a lot of vehicle manufacturers are gonna start taking stuff off state contracts. They're just gonna give you MSRP minus some set percentage, which is, you know, obviously in the law enforcement world, it's not, probably not a very popular topic.
Do you know why they're coming off state contracts?
Because people have to pay it.
And they just can't.
They're car dealers. I mean, the bottom line, that's what they are.
They just can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Well, that's another revenue.
They can, they just don't want to,
When all of them decide.
They all
We're
got
not gonna do
together and
this.
were like, hey, this is a good idea.
Now, we're leaving money on the table.
Right.
This is also the first year that we're going to have a shared copy / printer. We have historically just purchased small standalone units in our office. It's proven cost effective over the years. Now that we're in that new facility, we're going to a larger unit, so we have a copy lease of $2,200 that's added in. And with the new structure, that goes into capital as well, as opposed to M&O.
And David, that new facility was paid for in that's correct. And Cleveland County did a similar thing.
They did an upgrade update, yes, they did.
For an emergency, yes, they did. And previously, we've had to rent space from the city of Oklahoma City and have been squeezed out as their agency grows.
That's exactly.
So there were no county general fund dollars utilized to build your new facilities.
There were, not to build the facility, there was 90,000 allocated in last year, but I thought that helped us with some furniture and that's it.
Yep.
And just a side note, when we are looking further at our estimate needs for the rest of the morning, we're going to look at the total without the health premiums included, so the final line will be his true request for 27, the 782, once I make those changes. Then that'll be reflected on the BT worksheet, next week.
So then
Oh,
your,
no, I don't think,
You're going the opposite way of what we said.
Are we front funding 27? We front funding employee benefits for 2027.
I think we should know, because
It's
then
a
we're gonna
different
be in the same
mechanism to do
situation.
so.
It's a transfer.
It's a transfer.
We're gonna put it in the
Well, you
department
expense it
budgets
all.
and transfer it out later.
It should be, employee benefits should be in everybody's budget whenever it's loaded on July 1. And then whatever's in employee benefits for insurance premiums transfers over to employee benefits.
Yeah, I mean,
Thanks for clarifying, because my understanding of front funding is not including any departments in actually putting that directly into 4010s. You all are saying give it to departments and then transfer out
Yes.
into, okay.
And Brooke, I see where you're getting
Right, I
at,
do.
but the way we used to do it, we are, in old days, we're still thinking we're front funding. Cause we're giving it to employees' benefits off to the side and no one else, but in the old days, like employees' benefits, it would just be monthly. Yeah. So I see where you're.
it may be nice to even do another line, because I know right now we just do benefits, and of course that includes health, FICA, and retirement, so we gotta make sure we don't take out that 1965 out of that number too.
Yes, sir.
I know it's separated out there, so.
Uh,
Yeah, I just
75,
didn't if it was all rolled up under one number.
it's separated.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying.
And can I ask one more question
Yes, ma'am.
on, since we got David's up, not so much for David, on the bottom here, second column, the 873, 427, 41.
Yes, ma'am.
But if you go to the, where it all rolls up by category, it's showing 869, so that difference is
$3,995.09.
I know, but what is, I'm sorry, but why is there a difference?
Give me 2 seconds. So they pull up the actual spreadsheet and see if something was just not picked up.
Oh God, not again. No. You cannot. We just got started.
Hey, you gotta be consistent.
Oh, gosh. I'm too traumatized, I cannot.
Social visible space not picking up.
If it's something you can't find that easy, we can always circle back, so others can, we can make a note of
PTPS.
I'm comparing the year-to-date.
Probably be,
We better let John know, 'cause he's gonna start seeing it on his end.
asking for his answer as a specific provider.
Right,
PTPS.
exactly. You might need to look into that.
Is that
See that 798 number goes shoot way up.
3,830, yeah. That's $39.95.
David, are you gonna sign up to go first next year?
If the form's gonna change again.
We'll have it down by then.
Yep.
Yeah.
The difference is in your, on travel,
Category.
between your adopted budget and your revised budget, that's that number.
So travel.
Sorry?
I can go back and verify that
This number on the front page
this
should be the 14, not the 10-2.
the 10-2. So I'll just make sure that the
Thank you, sir.
spreadsheet is pulling in or capturing all of the expenses for that travel.
So
Wait,
you're saying that under net amount appropriations by excise board, the first column, instead of 10-2, that should read 14,633?
yes.
14,195.09.
Where did it pull the 10-2 from?
10-2 is your expense, your revised budget amount that you received. We'll pull this over to your year-to-date real quick. So here's his year-to-date. The 869 is actually the correct number. So each category, here's the 393 for salaries, 77 for benefits, 10,200 received for travel, 98.5. So
Then the
So
revised
then
budget.
So the revised budget on the budget, yeah,
Yeah, that should be
right.
10-2
The
instead of
10-2
14.
instead of the 14.
Where would?
I wonder if we're gonna see this.
On the travel revised, the 14,195 should be 10-2.
Well,
and
Gotcha.
I just got that updated
10-4.
by the period.
it,
10-4,
Good, buddy.
10-2?
this revised budget number is not right. It should be the
Another
10-2.
has been updated to show the 10-2.
There you go.
869. Now shows on there. That was just refreshing, so I tried to get you all a updated for emergency management. And I can make sure we have that on the second for you all.
Would you total those categories? Updated.
Say that again for me.
Would you total those categories when you update them?
Yes, yes, sir. And that will be presented for you all for at the 7th meeting. They are email you that revised.
Please do.
Where is your line item? Is it 68,000 for the chassis?
Yes, cabin chassis.
You said 2?
Yes, they are motor vehicles. That is within the capital. Should be 55,180 code. Or my cheat sheet.
136,000.
Oh, okay, I was looking at this. Okay.
What is the safety equipment?
Safety equipment, the 15,000,
68,000
68 is the 2 out warning device.
that were destroyed by the tornado.
No, they survived.
But we're adding 2 more.
Correct.
Okay, perfect.
And one of them was less than a block from significant damage. And then that, in last year's budget, the 55,330, the 90 grand, was that one-time expense? Correct. Just referenced. Okay.
That was the furniture.
Yes.
You receive each one of these?
I would say probably not, especially since there's modifications that are gonna have to be made. We can go through all of them, see what changes need to be made, get those changes made, and then we can receive them all together. Perfect. Actually, hang on, no, it is.
David, I apologize again. The 8797 is made up mostly
I
of
wanted it, well, I wanted
employer
to
paid
It
premiums
is
and
saying estimate needs that have already been received, as
That's-
does this presented, so I just wanted to make sure.
yeah, there's some weird offsets in there because we want to pay that 25,000.
Yeah.
On the city.
Right.
So it's a shit. But it's mostly the premiums.
That's what I need, so.
Okay, but so going back to the same end, you shot right there on the end. I mean, your budget has dropped, unless I'm missing something.
No, actually, the 12,792 is the same number I came up with. It's an increase requested of just a hair over 1%.
So your
what-
total net increase is the 12.
Yes.
How is that possible though? Because the FY 26 number does not include benefits, health benefits. Like, do you see what I'm saying? I mean, again, I'm very hard to offend. So somebody tell me why I'm stupid.
Well,
I'm missing this
Is
clearly.
it not that in 26-27 it's got the 99,000 there, 25-26 it doesn't have it, but at the very bottom, they've got the 99,000 out there, so I think that is playing into the formula over to the 12. Instead of it being in the second
Well,
column.
869 minus 782 is not 12,000, and then 12,000 will increase either.
You would have to know what the premium costs were. You would have to look at his salary expense worksheet for last budget cycle to get the premium cost, and then you take that off that 8 whatever number.
No, I see what you're saying, Brandon.
What can you put your the cursor at that bottom, the 12,000 box, and see what that formula is?
The sum of all of his line items from 26 and 27. So if I was to pick up, here.
So it's pulling in that increase then.
6,
If you're summing that column, that's gotta be pulling in that increase. Well, I mean,
for the 99.
Yes.
well, so can you put the cursor in box,
Well, now that she put the
it's
99,000
gonna change the
there,
number.
what's it look like at the bottom?
Well, it's gonna be a decrease. It's the only thing that can happen.
Right.
So, I mean, okay.
Well, what about that? What?
You would have to subtract
y'all are trying to see apples to apples, and we did not do apples to apples from 26 to 27.
Right, but when we add back in the apple, how are we getting to, I'm trying to see, like, for example, like for our purposes, I wanna know what David's total increase is the 12,000 right? And if so, how did we derive that number from this spreadsheet, cause I don't see how that works.
Well, let's see overall.
Like when you click in that column, can you click on cell J30 or whatever, it doesn't matter, just pick one of them. So I can see what that formula's pulling.
Let's see, included, it went up 599.
Yeah, that number changed. When you added 90,000, which is what you anticipated it would do, because that column on the bottom, I saw the formula is sum in column H. And then what is I doing? What is I-66 doing? The sum in column I, okay?
What about the I-67?
It's summing the whole column.
That is deducting your premium
But
amount.
you've added the premium amount over in H, so then you would take that away, right?
No, H is your 26 activity.
Yeah.
H is,
It had 0 before,
correct,
and now you put the 99,000 in there.
yes, to match dollar for dollar for.
Yeah, I thought that's why you had I-67 down there, was to offset.
Yeah, down at the bottom.
That's the premium for 27's budget.
I-67 just feeds into the lower amount right below it.
Okay, so what that is saying then is that his budget would be 782,601.07 that he would get on July 1, and then employee benefits would get the 99,624.
Right.
But that's not how we're wanting to do it. We're wanting him to get the full 882,225 and then be a transfer.
Well, I'm even
It
fine.
was requested to see both,
Yeah.
that you can see what the total is with the premium and what the total is without the premium, so.
Well, I'm even fine with that.
You can't see what
That's just
last
why
year's
you,
premium.
that's just why you have two numbers.
Right, but so we can compare apples to apples. If you go back up and you take out the 90,000 that you just added in there for last year's benefits.
26,
Yeah, take that out. Go back down to the bottom. Now, that means his last year's budget, not including benefits, was 869. This year's budget, not including benefits, is 782. So he's not 12,000 long. That's my point. No matter how we slice it, the way you've got your budget here, you don't have an increase. And that's not what the sheet is reflecting. So congratulations, you saved 100,000, didn't even know it. I mean,
I'd like to buy that.
I was gonna say, you might want to go back in and add your numbers back in. Do you see what I'm saying, unless I'm missing something?
That's what we were talking about at the other corner of the table earlier.
I mean, I do understand what you're saying, Britt, that we're not comparing apples to FY26 to apples to FY27. But when the sheet accounts for that and takes out the benefits, I feel like we are indirectly comparing apples to apples. And the number on the right-hand side that shows the difference is that does not add up from what I can see on the sheet.
It doesn't even work for my car dealer.
well, no, because this is just taking it.
Right. Yeah, it's already got that difference there.
Every cell is pulling the right.
Because you've got the 99 in there on the increase and decrease.
Which should wash it out.
Yeah, go back up.
60.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, Mark, I'm not saying your budget didn't increase. I'm just saying the sheet doesn't increase. That's what happens.
I have no clue what you're talking about.
Me either. So, just need a third.
Just a 65, there you go, right there.
What's the difference between those numbers?
What, the 869 and 782?
Yeah.
97,000 and change. Do you need the exact number?
Well, yeah, I was gonna look to see if maybe there was a cell in there that wasn't
Pulling for that exact number.
Yeah.
That's why I said we need to enter
Well,
it.
it's not taking it. We modified that number on here, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's probably good. It's giving me a tick. But,
It's the merit.
There, it's,
If you go to the
that-
salary
that's it
contributions,
now.
it really kind of is. And so, yes, that would probably make sense.
Did they figure it out? Did it adjust?
So if you received 12,000 in your and didn't,
Yeah, it's we see the net ask where it's positive or negative.
like he didn't increase, the salaries didn't
Apples to
increase, you're
apples,
asking for the
either
same
with
salary amount.
benefits or.
So the difference is that he's not asking for that merit amount again this fiscal year, and the salaries didn't change. That making sense to you?
So what you're saying is the budget board gave the merit increase, but he did not. And he
The
is
budget
not.
board gave the merit increase last year.
It's reflected, Mike, in the total salary. The merit increase of 3.2% is now reflected in their annualized salary request for this year. So he did.
He's
So-
just not requesting those merit dollars in that amount this year, that's the difference.
Again.
And that is correct, and that could be
But
corrected.
that's a $12,000, that would be a $12,000. If he's not asking for merit,
It would be a decrease.
No, because
But
he's
it's
asking,
included in the
I mean,
salary.
because now it's no longer a merit, it's
It's
part
built
of
in,
the
yeah.
salary. So that should be a wash. He's
It
just
is.
not asking for an additional amount like he did the previous
Yeah,
year.
that's right.
So that should just be a wash.
But the merit.
Unless I misunderstand,
Like Brandon,
historically, we bring flat salary to this group, and then there's a determination made if funds are available later, and the allocation is made.
I think that's, the last several years, that's what all of the offices have pretty much done, is not really look at what they feel like they have to have. They're just undercutting that and coming in at a flat budget because they just understand that there's just not revenue to be able to meet that
Right,
need.
and my salary requests are exactly what's being paid to them.
Stop it.
You think you're funny.
I just asked if,
Some days.
if
Some days
the
maybe.
Harvard master's degree person
He's
was
had an
available.
extra cup of something this morning.
I've actually had 0 coffee.
Oh, that's
Maybe that's what
Motion to recess for coffee.
Get this man a cup of coffee.
Jones
Welcome to
isn't
BET
saying
Air.
So you're saying it's a
You
bad
just thought
idea?
it with the words.
I'm saying it is not helpful to the current conversation.
gibberish.
Number of
That
times
was
that
the
I
best
haven't
way to
said
put it.
6, 7 during this conversation.
You don't need to start either.
No, I have gotten off of caffeine.
No, I mean, Cassie, or, I mean, maybe we do this, but I mean, if you're gonna go back and add the benefits to the FY 26 revised, and that column totals, and then the column I, which is the FY 27 ask, why can't we just change column J to be a difference of those two? And
I think that's what she's trying to do.
Okay. Rather than summing column J.
Yeah, I think that's what she's trying to do.
Well, you still wanna check that
But
sound.
still, it should be.
Well, I mean, you can put a check ditch in there, like on the bottom or whatever, but.
Yeah.
That's giving you 86,831 miles.
Difference between those. Now look at the bottom, H68 is that 869. Go to I-66 is 882, that is gonna be your $12,000 difference.
Say that again.
Just do everybody's.
Right now, H68 is 869,432. You go up to I-66.
Yeah, but that number includes benefits. And then
I know, but I'm saying that your 12,000,
Oh,
I think that's your number, but for some reason that 99 isn't getting captured.
Paul had, listen to Paul for a second, because I think he may have this figured out.
Brandon, you were asking, okay, I'm gonna go back to the sheet.
Alright.
Okay. You were saying on the 25-26 revised budget total, 873, 427, 41.
Yes.
Right? That's his number, not including
Not including benefits.
benefits, correct?
I
I thought
think.
it was
Okay.
869.
Well, it is now because they made adjustments.
Whatever, I'm going off the sheet.
Yeah.
Okay.
The 10-2.
And you're saying this year,
on the request, not including benefits, his number is 782,601.07.
Correct.
Correct? So that difference isn't reflected in the decrease total. The 8,000,
Right.
whatever it was. It
797.66.
was 8797.66. You're like, no, that's a lot more than that. That's what you're saying, right? Okay. The difference is your benefits total in the line increase, decrease, which is, I don't have your spreadsheet up there. Okay.
Oh, the 99,624.
Go back up.
Or 25 or 26.
No, go back up to the
other-
itemized.
The other document, go to
Okay.
NJ.
Right
Right
there.
99.
13, that one. If that's taken out, that minus your 8797.66 there is the difference.
That's his
That
actual
needs to
increase.
come out of that column.
That's his actual increase.
Huh?
Take the 99,000 out for a second.
Take the 99,000 out of the increase decrease.
Go down.
There you go. That's the difference between this
And the 782.
Yeah, so I'm at that number. I think what I'm talking about though is that from how do we compare what the total budget is with benefits for last year versus the total budget with benefits this year? And what is that difference? How do we get to that number? That's what I'm looking for. I mean, I can get to the 12 and I can actually get to the 86. I want the spreadsheet for us
To reflect.
And then I would need to pick up last year's benefits.
which is the same number,
99,
which
and then give
which that
you-
number shouldn't be identical because there was a benefit change. But
Right.
there you go.
But yes, yes.
so,
Well,
well, you
Is
need
that
to
what
subtract
you had
this year
to
from,
increase,
yeah,
David?
reverse the order. You
right.
need to subtract I from H, not H from I. So your budget has technically gone down 86,831 according to this.
But according to doing it on a napkin like the Harvard guy did, it's gone up by what, 17,000 or something?
But that's us
See, Brandy, it's not just me.
manipulating his five budget that was inputted into munis to capture the premiums that was not actually given to him at departmental level. That's the difference.
Time for a long weekend.
Yes.
Time for lunch.
Good Friday, good Friday.
That's gonna be Good Friday. It's gonna be the greatest Friday ever.
Jeff, don't fall asleep over there.
But yes, so adding in the 26 premiums and then showing you what that looked like, what their budget was without the premium.
Still something done.
It's with it.
And then you deduct the premiums out, and then you get the right.
So what's the 77?
The 70?
This needs to have the 99 here, deduct the 99, and then these numbers are gonna be
Yeah.
closer. And I'm not a card reader.
Okay, so hey guys, how about we do this? We've got people that are waiting to present. Really what this is just an overview of the changes and in your requests and that kind of stuff. So let's just go ahead and move on because I'm anticipating that we're gonna have these same issues in multiple estimate of needs, not just this one. So let's just not focus on the spreadsheet being the way it should be. Let's just focus on what the numbers are, and then we'll have the clerk's office get the document fixed, and it can come back to us. Because really, when we need to see those is when we have the deliberation about the estimate of needs and what is our recommendation going to be, and that's not in any of these first meetings that we have.
Can you give me that figure for my napkin one more time?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
It's
Yeah, what is
12.7.
The increase that I show, and I don't know where it is now.
Was it the 14?
No, it was,
No.
Yeah, it's like $12,792 or
75 cents.
75
Thank you
cents.
very much.
Thank you for standing up there this whole time. David, did you have anything else in yours that you wanted to point out?
I sure wouldn't do it now. I'm sorry, 1279. Again, we try to shoot straight forward on our budgets. I don't pad, I don't do anything. I mean, even, you know, we've had multiple years where after deliberation and all the review countywide, it's come back and requested department heads to reduce the X percent. I get that, but I don't build in even that percentage. For me to do a percentage of reduction based on the big picture at the end of all the deliberation, something's gonna be cut. It's that simple. I don't build in.
There's no buffer.
I mean, the benefits cost added to this number is 973. 5141.
Okay.
This number.
Mr. Chairman, I move we move on.
Yeah,
I don't want
let's-
to actually move, I don't
Okay.
mean that.
Thanks, David. If you don't have anything else that you want to point out on your estimate of needs, we'll go ahead and move on to the election board.
Sounds great. Y'all have a great resurrection day.
Thanks, Dan.
You too. You too.
Kelly, sorry.
No, yeah, good.
How's your week been so far?
You know,
Slow?
it depends on who comes in the door. But I think
Oh, that's right. She changed the total number.
So
So plus 4,000.
All right.
But that's the other aspect of
Go ahead. Brooke, can you pull hers up,
Would
please?
you like the PDF version that does not have the updates comparing and including the premiums for 26, or does that have to be a work?
No, just pull up what you have. We're gonna have you guys work on getting all that stuff fixed on the back end. That way we're not taking up the time in the meeting for that.
So I am asking for additional money this year. You know, after the last 2 years of keeping it flat, there's some things that we need to take care of out there that we thought initially that maintenance was going to. We've been in talks with them for about 2 years. One being a security issue with the back gate. We share a parking lot now with Shine. And what has happened is they come in, they think we've left, they'll lock the gate, or they've left and not locked the gate that night, leaving us wide open. So what we want is, I talked to District 3 and they put a automatic gate in with keyless entry. And so that's kind of what we want, somewhere where we can just come in and out. They can be able to park back there and not have, currently our gate's locked anyways, so it's not really secure. But we had been talking with Keith about that, and it just doesn't seem like it's happening. So I think the easiest thing now is just to ask for it to be put in capital and to work with it. That's the biggest increase, and that's what that 80,000 down there for.
Okay.
Postage, we're asking for an increase there, just because it's getting more and more expensive to mail out ballots. And now people can go on and request a voter ID card to be mailed to them. And what's happening is every week we have anywhere from 1,300 on up being mailed out because they just get in there and request it. They've lost it, they want a new one, or they've changed something on the registration because it's been made easier to them.
Okay.
So, and that's expensive.
Can we go back? I'm sorry. Can we go back to the gate for a second?
Yep.
That's a PBA property that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
PBA should take care of that expense.
I agree, but it's been.
We'll make sure it happens.
Okay.
So I think we can comfortably pull that out of the budget request.
I'm good with that.
There's Mr. Monroe right here.
I'm sorry, I was distracted. Was the gate, was that the 80,000? Okay.
I was looking for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Moving forward.
we'll take care of it.
And, okay, and then just the salary increase is just the merit, that's the difference there.
Okay.
On the mail increase, are you allowed to charge a fee for the voter cards, or are you prohibited from doing that by law?
We do not, we can, unfortunately.
And you said salary increases, I'm sorry. What did you say about salary increases?
The merit that was given. I believe there's some difference there. Because we haven't increased anything other than that. And then over here. So you just lose.
So it was the merit that has been given already?
Yes. That
And,
was put in our budget. That's the difference between last year's and this year's.
okay.
If that makes sense.
Well, so on salary increases though, if the merit was already given, if that should be in the revised budget. And it should,
Right,
and if there were no additional raises given, it
right,
should
that
be
should
equal.
be
But
zero.
that's why
It
it's 27
should.
and a half.
Right.
And it's just not.
Yeah.
And so you're saying it's not matching what the system pulled versus what you added in there? Is that what you mean?
I'm assuming yes.
So your actual salaries as of today are 1.106253, right?
Yes.
But
So that's
the
what
revised budget,
revised.
okay. Yeah, because the FY 26 revised should include what was
Right,
granted in September and retro back to July of last year.
That part-time line isn't showing on
You said what, Aaron?
the part-time line on the second part.
it's just not being,
That's not that difference, the 313,000.
Can you make that a little bit bigger, please? Thank you.
Oh, so that's your difference between here and here. The 1.1 and the 1.4. But that 1.4 isn't even over here though.
I don't believe that you just see it's because it's got the tier. If that makes sense.
That is true.
We have a bottom line if we take the $80,000 out. What your budget is this year versus last year, living benefits. How much was your budget increase for the year?
I showed that it was 141,000.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at, but that.
Okay, so then we're gonna take the 80 out, so it'll be 61,000. Very good.
Sorry.
That either.
Yeah, so, Brooke, can
Well,
you go
maybe
to
it
the
does.
salary computation worksheet?
Yeah, the 271 and the 41.
Yeah, the 271's not
Did
picking
those
up.
two.
We're spending a whole lot of time on.
Yeah, can you increase that a little bit? Oh, that'll be good. Okay, go down a little bit.
Up to a little bit.
Are we on 26?
Yeah, 26, 27, go down, please. Okay, right there. On E36, part-time, the 271, 152, I don't think that's picking up in that 1 million.
that's what we're looking at.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
And
that's what
so
we were
it-
just looking at.
Looks like that difference is in part-time. And Kelly, I'm assuming that with the general election coming up, that you guys are needing more part-time this year
Yes.
for that? Because it seems like on gubernatorial years and presidential years, you always have that part-time. Is that why that's there?
Yes.
So you're looking at, for this next year, it looks like salary adjustments, raises, whatever, they're in, under budget amendments. But then, what, I don't understand, next to the 271, 152 for part-time, the column right next to it has a 41,961 budget amendment.
That total is the 313,000.
13, yeah.
That's
41,961 is overtime.
That's part-time. But there's an additional part-time line for next year with a budget amendment on top of that. I don't understand why, if that's new, why there would be a $41,000 budget amendment to a new number. Because I would think that if you're wanting those,
271's not new.
well, it's not up above.
They've got it on the detail.
Okay, well, it's not on this form though. So that 271 should be on the salary page, right?
So it shows up under part-time salaries on the detail page. It shows up as 271, 152.
Okay.
Under overtime salaries on the detail page, it shows up as 41,961.
But then the salary computation
On the previous page?
worksheet,
Yeah, he's talking about here. When
Okay.
you're looking at 25, 26 stuff, it's not up there.
it's not listed there, but the part-time is listed in the 26, 27.
So what you just said, 271 and 41. But when you're looking at here,
You are a teacher.
25, 26, it's not in there.
Oh, I got you.
It's where you're, this used to
Come on,
be.
man.
This,
Take one for the team. Please.
Okay, so Kelly, you're asking, according to that document, a $30,000 increase in salaries and wages, right?
Yes.
That's not,
But no, that's not her ask. That was your actual for your revised budget for this fiscal year, right?
Yes.
but it says FY 26-27 increase / decrease 30,256.23 in that line item.
Is that the salary adjustment last year? It wasn't called a COLA, it was a.
Right.
And that's
Yeah, yes,
I'm like,
right.
if you take out that 53 is what they put in there, and then
But that amount should be reflected in the revised.
Yes, that's what we were.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we all understand that there's some issues, so
yes, I would have to like go back.
yeah,
and look
let's get this document figured out and then we can readdress it. Yeah, I mean, I know you need to get back to work, there's no sense in, we can,
So really, your asks were 80,000 for a gate and 20,000 for postage, and that's it.
okay.
So you should have an even ask of $100,000.
No,
take that.
Well,
No, she said
right,
145.
yes, right.
She said
141 would be the increase with the
The
30 in there,
benefits.
and then the increase in like
right, the benefits.
Yeah.
So it's a 61,000 net increase. That you think?
that includes salary. Correct. Requested salary.
That's what she said.
But she didn't request a salary increase.
Right.
It's just a math where it should be on the form. So let's do this.
It's just in the
Yeah, but we don't want it to look like you're getting
Right.
an increase when you're not.
Yeah. Right.
So let's let the clerk's office get back with you so that they can get the form fixed and then.
So the number's gonna be closer to 20 at the end of the day.
Yeah, the postage, really, if we take the 80,000 out, because if they're able to get PBA to take care of that, then
And then
your,
the increase.
then your increase is just for
Salary benefit.
the, postage.
That's what you're saying.
When they get the form right, that 41 will come off and it'll be the 20 number.
Because it
Okay,
should already
All right.
increase into this.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And on the previous one, it had employee premiums for 25, 26, and then for 26, 27, but on this one, on that salary computation worksheet,
Oh, you
I'm
don't
still
see
calling it
that.
that, you don't see
Yeah,
the 25, 26.
right.
Say that again? I'm sorry.
The salary,
Under health premiums, you're not seeing this current fiscal year, 25, 26.
just the 26, 27. See that?
I think it should be, 85.
In 52,047, that line item.
Free fair.
He's right here.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
25, 26 isn't pick it up. So you only see 26.
Yeah.
Free fair. Okay, so we'll get all of those. What's next? Free fair figured out and move forward. All right, free fair.
I think it's under,
Okay,
BFCC.
so
BFC, yes.
on your free fair,
Yes.
there was a typo that accidentally had LaDonna listed as the administrator, so if you'd like to update it, Jeff is
So
passing it
does
out.
this replace this?
This replaces this, and it just has LaDonna's name on one of the pages rather than.
I think
Jeff's
so, I think
number.
it's on the back.
Oh.
So, that's important to you.
No, it's just the name.
It's just a name, there's no change in numbers.
I always hurt myself with these three reading
I know.
my own budget, so.
So this is regarding.
We don't need a workers' comp.
There's one statement that was not revised.
This one.
There's one that wasn't revised. If you got a staple one, that's the bad sheet.
Oh, good. So do we get a prize for getting that one?
Mine looks like it was stapled.
Mine was.
Yeah, they were all
They were all
stapled, and then I
stapled.
asked her to staple them.
It's not stapled.
Yeah, so the only difference is page 3, which has LaDonna's name and who on it.
Oh, so that was the only change
That
with
was
the
the only
signature?
change, it was just the same.
So you had LaDonna sign it?
No,
No.
it had LaDonna's name at the top of one of the pages.
Oh, I see. I got you, right there.
Mr. Parker signed it, we just missed one of the pages that have her name on it from the previous. That was originally drafted that way, that we had to make that.
Good, gotcha. All right.
Okay, so, so here are the, changes, I'll run through the changes that we are requesting in, this year's budget. In regards to printing and binding, we are asking for, it'll be less this year. One of the things that the, Free Fair is doing is not printing, their Free Fair books, we're doing them digitally this year. And it worked out really well at our last two, fairs, in regards to, this one. In regards to having a QR code. What is your,
It shows an
It
increase.
shows an increase, not a decrease.
Oh, what was your printing and binding increase? Hold on a second. Oh, so, what, this
We
one?
were gonna do some advertisements that,
Yeah, that was the
That's different line.
advertisement, that's a different line.
like, it should be an increase, cause we were.
Maybe that, oh, what it was the, okay, sorry. In the past, we had put, we redid some of the object codes, that was your ribbons.
Okay.
So, so we have improved some of the things in regards to not printing the Free Fair books and having a QR code at all the events, so that way, we don't have to keep printing any type of supplementals and changes to the book. But we do have a need in order to, increase
for printing and binding, for the ribbons that are needed, as well as banners for the free fairs. We have to order new ones this year.
The ribbons are stupid crazy.
Yeah. And so in regards to advertising, there's also an increase of advertising. We have not advertised for the fairs in the past. And so the Free Fair Board has asked to increase that and reprioritize some of the dollars in order to be able to advertise in local newspapers and other.
Papers, radio, people don't know where it's at.
What sort of advertising?
We have not done any to this point.
Well, right, but what do you plan to do? What would you like to do?
Newspaper ads, TV ads, radio ads.
TV and radio, commercials.
Commercials, more banners around town like you see everywhere, all the other counties. Such and such address, this is where the fair is at. We have nothing.
A lot more than $10,000.
Well, we're trying to be conservative starting with, because everything's in a big mess with this county right now. We're trying to be self-supportive. Well, no.
I'm being facetious.
I have land already donated. We're working with USDA. We're working with the rural economic. We can do a lot of this stuff.
Would your stuff fall under the required PSA announcements that they have to make? You know, they require, FCC requires a certain amount of PSAs that radio stations give away.
I don't know, but that would be a really great ask.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would imagine it would fall under that, but
that's a great idea.
That's above my pay grade, sorry.
I just.
You said PSAs, who
Yeah,
does PSAs?
well, like Tony Tyler, I mean.
Oh, yeah,
Tyler,
just
yeah,
regular
yeah.
public broadcasting.
Yeah, just all
That's a good
media
idea.
subsystems, I think they're required to do a certain amount of,
Public service
yeah,
announcement. Yeah, that's a great idea.
I don't know if they fall into that or not, but.
Thank you.
Yeah, we moved the indoor exhibits to the Lincoln Center, which was a big cost savings for us. We didn't have to pay for rent, but we had a downturn in attendance just because we didn't advertise where we moved it to. So that was the board's request in regards to advertising. Last year, we had allocated the premiums and awards under 54021, and it should have been under 54031. And so there is an increase year over year. They requested 30,000 last year. This year, they're requesting 52,000. And so, and those go towards premiums and judges' expenses.
Well, the kid numbers are going up, which is good. Well, we have 24, 35 head of cattle, and we do have 12, 15, our numbers just keep going up, which is good. And it's hard to guess how many kids are going to enter, because it's too late. I mean, that's what we had the horse show, and then we were tight on the budget this year.
Yeah.
The numbers are going up, and I love it.
So you say this goes specifically to judges?
Judges and the kids' payouts.
Oh, okay, payouts, okay.
All payouts for not just the kids, the little old ladies with their baked goods and the quilts and all the indoor exhibits.
So were you saying 54,020 is where it was and it shouldn't have been, and so it's
Yes, so
it's
I
a
just
net
moved it
increase
down
of
to-
22,000?
Yes, correct,
Okay.
net increase
I'm
of
with you.
22.
With you.
I just wanna make sure we're putting them to the right
Sure.
codes this year. In regards to office space, what that is facility rental. So that is a decrease because we were able to locate for this spring horse show. We did it at Stone Ridge Acres, and so that was a lot more cost efficient than doing it at the State Fair Park. And so that we had great success in that. We're going to continue to look for alternates in regards to the livestock show. Jones High School has gone up considerably. It's $7,500 each show. We do 2 shows, and so we're hoping to be able to provide some additional cost savings as we look at other facility rental properties.
They've got it just about the same price as State Fair Park.
Yeah.
We can't afford State Fair Park.
Any questions about facilities? There's a breakdown on the next page. And then for equipment, there was a decrease. We decreased equipment other. There was a decrease in or elimination of that line item for miscellaneous supplies. Office supplies, there was an increase because we need to buy stamps I believe it's what the board has requested. And paper and more envelopes and, yeah. And then, we decreased or asked for professional services because we moved those professional services is what we were paying, I believe, the judges. And we moved all that to the same line item for premium and awards. And then, there is a decrease, significant decrease in regards to capital. Last year, we purchased scales. And so this year, we're going to purchase additional scales, but those only cost $1,500. And then,
That's more.
oh, sorry, not 1,500, 4,500.
That's more your sheep, goats, and pig
Smaller.
scales, smaller scales.
Smaller animals.
That big scale looked perfect. I mean, everybody tickled to death. I mean,
And then our computer software under capital is a more efficient way for us to be able to track the W-9s, which has been a challenge in the past of retaining those and trying to get those turned into the clerk's office, and we'll appreciate that. And so we are using a online software in order to, for registration, advertisement, and capture of W-9s. And so the total ask for FY 26 and 27 is $96,745. The board has always requested a 10% increase, and so that's what they based this off of for their needs for this year, even though we know that things are tight.
Right.
And so, but they still wanted to ask. Do you have any other questions?
I got a punch out that we all can do. I worked in TV for 20 years. You can do the morning talk shows, 6 a.m., 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 4 p.m.
we just need a good face, because I'm not a good face for TV.
Well, but you can get a lot of advertising that way, just by reaching out
Great idea.
to 459.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right. One of these years, if when we get a fairground, we can be the cash cow. We don't have to come ask for this, because it'll pay for itself and then some. That's why I was stressing about the land we already have. It's just baby steps, but
This is another one we're waiting.
around here.
agriculture,
Yeah.
it'll bring it in. That's where we're the forgotten equation of all this mess.
This is another budget that we're challenged a little bit with the 90% rule, so we're not able to pay out the premiums right now for the spring horse show or the fall
Right.
free fair, because we asked for those in a lump sum, and that will take me over my 90%. So as soon as that's released,
And
then
it's,
I'll be able to pay. all
that's
the
not fair to
judges.
kids waiting a month and a half, 2 months, because 9% rule. But we're playing by your rules.
Statutory.
Yeah, it's not our rules.
Not our rules. Well, yeah, whoever.
It's not our state's rule.
2300 Lincoln.
All right, anybody else?
Right.
Anybody have any questions about this budget? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, cool, I'm gonna make it out for another purple ticket.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
The next one is economic development.
You need me for a physical district?
Okay, go ahead.
So
There you go.
economic,
Thanks, Jeff.
hi Jeff, economic development's an easy one, so, and the Board of County Commissioners approved the renewal of $250,000, and that is different. The rest, nothing's different. Oh, you don't pass on that.
Oh, I don't?
Sorry, she just printed it, because I told her to print all of it. Nothing's different on that one. Sorry, she's being efficient. So, that one, there's no change, and it's $250,000.
BOCC already, they already voted on that, policy and governance?
Policy and governance,
Policy and governance, too. I didn't know BOCC.
we voted on it, and, I have to double check that. Do we put it, Randy? Do we put it?
It should have been on that next week.
Do you want me to double check?
We can go verify and add it to the next, if not, no big deal.
The chamber contract, basically.
Yeah, so
Same contract.
was it just approved as far as putting it into the estimate of needs, or was the contract for the next fiscal year?
For the estimate of needs.
For the
Okay.
estimate.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The contract has not gone across.
It has not gone across.
Okay.
None of the contracts have actually gone across BOCC.
And
What
really,
was that?
In the past, we haven't put those across, we haven't put all the estimated needs for approval for the BOCC for every single department, so this, we just put it on for discussion, and it was recommended by P&G, maybe in order to move forward with adding it to the estimate.
Adding it to the estimated.
Okay,
Yeah, yesterday's process was a little bit different than what we've done in the past, but there was a lot more discussion. So, but I'd be happy to put it on for next week if we'd like to move
We'll
this
double
to
check
the
and
ninth.
make that happen if it hasn't happened.
okay, all right. Anybody have anything? If not, moving on, we'll have more in-depth discussion on each individual things at later meetings. So.
Okay, so next is capital improvement, and so this one does have a change.
I thought
We're not.
no,
Oh, yeah,
we had economic development and
oh,
then
there is
commissioners report.
Oh, commissioners.
It does say 2010 on there though.
Oh, yeah,
In front of
it's a little bit
economic
later.
development.
Oh,
little bit
2010 and economic development, okay, I see that.
So which would you like to talk about next? What is on the schedule?
Okay, well, let's do this, yeah, court services is on there,
I'm taking.
2010, commissioners 120, so let's go ahead and, since you're in this building and you're gonna be around, we're already behind schedule, let's go ahead and move to juvenile real quick, let them go, and then we can move back to
No,
yours.
it's fine. And we're gonna talk about court services, we're gonna talk about on the 9th, because we called a special P&G for the 8th in order to discuss funding, since we have a shortfall of $57,015.50.
We don't.
We do, because we only used the 163 for DLC.
No,
And then-
that was on BOCC for yesterday.
Yes, but you still have $57,000.
No.
Well, okay, so you're just recommending for us to move forward and ask for a deficit to be funded?
Well, right, yes, because that's what BOCC decided yesterday,
Okay, so I just need to put that in there for an
for the
increase.
full amount,
Okay,
yes.
Okay. Grant, are you presenting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Best I can.
Hey, Grant.
How you doing? How you want to do this? Quick
Confused.
summary or?
Yes.
How much are you asking for increase over last year, if any?
Okay, so,
And break that down.
okay, so if we're looking at, so let's just take off benefits and salary. Let's look at travel, M&O, and capital. So for detention, about 2.4% increase for those. And what that basically is the main part, almost over half of it, is the turnkey contract. So if you remember, that was an ARPA project, and we were funded through the end of December. And so last year, we were funded for that last 6 months that we're in now. And so moving on to this year, we'll need a full year. So that was a big part of the increase. And then the other part was added about 10% for utilities, and then other stuff like janitorial type stuff, paper goods, that sort of stuff, just inflation, that those costs are just going up. So that comes out to about that 2.4%, which for those is about $95,000. And so that's where that's at. Let me backtrack though too. Salaries, obviously nothing's changing on that, but we are asking for 2 additional positions. Those are in there.
Is that detention side?
I'm sorry?
Are the 2 units, you're just talking detention first?
So, yes, but that's gonna be a 65-35 split, right? Yeah, so it'll be paid out of both funds. Those are a purchasing clerk and a tracking officer. Tracking officer is gonna be for our GPS. It just continues to grow and grow and grow. And with that, there's just additional staff that is needed for that. And then as far as the purchasing clerk is concerned, we did lose one of our deputy directors, and opposed to filling that position at a high salary cost, we kind of moved responsibilities around. I took on a whole lot more of what he was doing, which obviously leaves, needs in the purchasing department. So that would even save more money, but that's what that position's for.
Grant, just real quick.
Yep.
The new positions, you said 65-35, that's 65 detention, right?
Yes.
Okay, so question then, down on the benefits portion of it, where it has new positions too, it appears that that's not proportioned out.
With a 65-35 split? Okay,
So we might need to just
Okay.
double check that.
yep, that'll work.
Did you say you eliminated one position, but you added two positions, so is it a net one, or did I misunderstand you?
Yeah, you're probably right, yes.
Okay.
So what else? So as far as detention goes, that's what I got on that. For bureau, same situation. As far as that travel M&O capital is concerned, just shy of about 3%. We're asking for about $72,000. The bulk of that is going to be GPS, so it continues to grow. Not only is it growing, but we're wanting to switch a lot of them to more of a watch opposed to an ankle monitor. And in addition to that, to get fully accredited for our GPS. So those are large costs, and between those, it's an additional almost $55,000. So, and then again, utilities and those other goods. So that's where those increases are for Bureau.
We did the same correction that it looks like that on those positions.
For that one too?
Yeah, on the Bureau side.
Okay, yeah, we'll fix that.
And going from the ankle monitor to the watches, it's still the same deal, right? We're only paying for the ones that we're actually using, right? You're not
It should be the
purchasing
case, yeah. As long as they're not activated, they shouldn't be being paid for.
Kind of like when you ran quote services, the way it was done with GPS.
Yep, yeah, we do not pay for that portion.
Okay, thank you.
That's all I got.
Anybody else have any questions?
Nope.
Nope,
we're good.
Sorry. Oh, go ahead, Erin, I'm sorry. Go.
You said the turnkey contract is under the medical, professional services medical.
That's right, yeah.
Okay. I do just want to state that our office was told that that program was fully funded after ARPA, because we did ask about that.
Yeah, it
Several months
was,
back.
for last fiscal year? Is that what you mean?
No,
Or the one we're in right now?
Well,
Yeah.
for the next fiscal year, looking forward.
Through ARPA?
No.
Well, we knew that the ARPA money had run out, so we had reached out to have a conversation, and we're told that it was fully funded.
To best of my knowledge, when December hit, that was obviously it for the ARPA funds, and then we were funded for that January through what we're in now, through June. And so this next year going in, it would be obviously 12 months, but we didn't ask for 12 months more than what we got, just 6 months. That makes sense.
You annualize the 6 months that you were responsible for once the money runs out.
So overall increase 95,000 detention area and.
For those, yeah, not counting like the salary and benefits, but yeah, the travel M&O capital, yeah.
And the Bureau was an
So
increase
then
of-
what's the net cost of the new position? I know you said
Like total
two, but,
salary? Is that what you mean?
what's the increase of adding the 2 positions, factoring in losing 1?
Oh. As far as what the
What your net
position that
is.
we're not there tomorrow, I'll have to get that to you. I didn't bring that. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's
Trying
on
to
the
come
next,
up
I think
with-
it's on the next page. Isn't the difference of the 6.048 and the 5.974? And of course, you're gonna have benefits in there and FICA and retirement, but,
Which page, John?
I don't know, it's not really numbered page-wise. It's on the salary compensation stuff, right? No, go down.
Are you looking on juvenile or detention?
I just kind of randomly opened the
I
book.
mean, Bureau or
Um,
detention?
Yeah, it's on the general fund
Oh, I see.
for, yeah. The 1120-525. You scroll up a little bit, Brooke, I think it might be right there.
I see now.
I think it'd be the difference in that, right? At least on that account, and then
I just didn't know the 1 position they lost,
What that cost was? I'll get that to you.
Okay.
I don't wanna guess, but it was definitely a higher one.
Anybody got anything else? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Grant.
Thanks, Frank.
I also did want to note, Cassie looked up, as far as the economic development contract goes, that was approved to continue that contract at that flat amount at the BOCC on March the 18th.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Bessie.
To include it in the estimate of needs.
To include it in the estimate of needs, yes.
Okay, I think Jessica has all the rest, right, for today? Okay, Jessica?
Yeah, next on the capital improvement, okay. So we do have a change to capital improvement. And I didn't realize you were printing front to back, or else I would have printed you front to back, but I did hole punch them. You don't have one. Yeah, we were working on some challenges, and I have a supplement document if you want it, in regards to what was the last adopted budgets for the 2010. I was working through Brooke with the line items. There were several line items that aren't reflecting what the capital budget shows, but they're rolled up into the top level. And so, as we continue to do project accounting moving forward, those will reflect what the budget itself shows. So I have the budget if you'd like to see it. It's relevant to this conversation. And so, the only, let's see what.
Thank you. Thanks. So I can create a tab. Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Oh, I get it for you.
How do you live with those skillets on the end of your arm?
That's the first time you've heard that.
I'm just numb from sitting here.
It's, well, I don't think it matters.
Emotional?
It's all rolled up into the top. So,
Boom.
you can shut up. Let me know when you're ready.
We're ready.
You got the floor.
So the only two requests that we're making, of course, this is the MOU that we have with the district courts. And, that those funds were front funded last year, and then as they've been deposited, I confirmed with Christy, they are being deposited into the general fund budget, in order to be, I guess, provided or reimbursed to the 2010, for this year. So no anticipated change to the contract. But the $250,000 is used for flooring, window treatments, and paint as requested by Renee Coxwell, the trial court administrator. It was a little bit, it had some funds left, I guess, in that line item, and so that's why there was a little bit of a difference. But, and then the only other increase that I would recommend is that, in order to capture our max exposure for the insurance deductible, which is usually $100,000. I don't know why it didn't carry over. But I was going to request or maybe suggest that we increase it to $150,000. And we experienced with the flood that our deductible was $250,000, and so I had to go to budget board in order to request those additional dollars. And so it was just suggested that we cover our exposure.
What is our deductible?
Depends on the peril. So for the flood, it was $250,000. We're working on a breakdown. They've never provided it a deductible by policy, so we're gonna be able to present that to the general government.
I was thinking
most of them are 100,000.
Yeah, that's what
100,000.
I was thinking that Keith had said before. It used to be 50 and then it jumped up to 100.
Right.
And then
Then
it
we
was
found out during
$250
the
for the flood. And then of
Flood,
course,
it's
if it's wind and hail, there's a 10%.
Yeah, I get that side of it, but
But if you wanna keep it at 100, that is fine. I just, because we had a flood and we had to go to budget board in order to be able to transfer funds around, since that it was our exposure. I was gonna bring it to the committee to see if you wanted to increase it, or we can keep it at 100,000 and request for additional funding out of unallocated funds.
well, this is just you presenting what you would like for
So I would
next year.
suggest that.
We'll have more in-depth conversation about whether we think it should be 150, 50, 200, 250. We'll have all those conversations.
So I would recommend it
subsequently.
being 250.
I'm sorry?
I would recommend it
Thank you, ma'am.
having an increase to 150, so that way if we do have another flood, then I would have to
You
get a
said an
budget.
increase of 150. An increase of 150 or an increase to
Or a total
150?
of 150.
Will you show me this?
Because it shows 0 for this year,
Increase of 150 from
It's an
100 to
increase.
250.
but she has 150 there.
Mm-hmm.
We currently
First two
have
columns
100,
have
we have,
zero.
currently have 100,000 in the budget of capital of 2010.
They just
And
didn't come
so-
over on the spreadsheet because they're 0.
Yeah, I don't know why it didn't carry over.
Well, but on 26, 27, you've got insurance deductible 150,000.
Yeah, it just didn't carry over in this year.
Well, no, that's not what I'm saying.
You're saying that one should.
That's not,
That was
column
budgeted
I
to
is not
250.
your difference line. Column I is what you want for next year.
Right. That should be 250.
So if we have 100,000 already in the fund and we're asking for it to be 250, should we would be requesting 150,000?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I would think so, because
Column-
otherwise she's
Well,
gonna have.
Column
But
H
that's
would be.
money
It depends. Is there money
There's
sitting
money sitting
in
there
there
right
and
now.
you're
Yes.
contemplating rolling that and then putting an amount on top of it?
From what I understood, that it's already budgeted, it's being reported out monthly in regards to what are the available funds in the budget.
Yeah. Capital's a rollover, so.
Yeah, so here's the capital fund, if you'd like to receive it. And so there's $100,000 in the capital fund now for insurance because we refunded it after the flood. And so my thought process, and open to cover, I need to do it in order to cover our full exposure, is that going to be an increase to 100.
So an
By
increase of $150,000
For a total
for a total
of
of 250.
250,000.
Correct.
Thank you.
Of which you already have 100.
Which I, already have 100,000.
Was there any money budgeted or given last year for FY 26 or
Yeah,
that,
so,
that 100 was just already?
the 100 was already there, and then once we had that flood, once we had the flood, then we, of course, allocated it towards the line item for the flood, and then in infrastructure and budget board, we basically put $100,000 back in case we had another incident,
But during budget time, no money was given.
because there was already funds in there.
Okay. So yeah, I feel like it's probably right then.
And I just assumed it rolled over and stayed, because that's what
I think it
we're
does.
reporting out monthly.
It does.
Yeah, since it's special revenue. But this is an error, this should say 100,000 last year, I guess.
So you did get 100,000
No,
in budget?
it was already there, so
Yeah,
that's what we
yeah,
went through. It was already there, so we already had 100,000, we spent the 250, we requested in budget board for that to be put back in, paid and then put back in there.
Is that considered a revised budget?
I would think that it would be. You would
It
have,
was included,
you'd have 0 in column G,
so
and then you would have 100 in column H.
That's probably at
and
the
then
top.
it was rolled up into the top line, the top level, which is that 7 million.
Okay. Okay, does anybody have any questions on this one?
Nope.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay.
move on to the next one.
Hold on.
Forgive the guy but I'm looking at the detailed worksheet. Right, last year's revised budget was 10,711,000, right? The proposed budget for 26, 27 is 400,000,
Yes.
and the
250.
net decrease is 10,311,000.
He's wanting you to go ahead and capture the full funds that's already sitting in the special revenue side. Is that what you're asking?
I didn't fill out the form, I'm just,
What she's done right now is just showing you her increase, she didn't show you.
Well, yeah,
that's not an accurate reflection of the fund.
which is what I was trying to get at earlier, and I thought we can just address it when they're fixing all these other
Oh,
forms.
sorry, well,
No, because this one needs to be fixed too, because you need to reflect what you're gonna roll over, just like anybody else's special revenues. I mean, this isn't a special revenue account, but it's rollover account, and you need to put in there what your beginning
Sure.
revenues are.
Okay, I was
So
just
it
gonna
needs to be
itemize
fixed.
that for the rest of them.
okay, thank you.
So itemize the rest of them, okay, yeah. First time to do capital budget, so just don't have to. Let's talk. Okay, so The next one is the commissioners. I will need to bring court services back because I misunderstood, because I thought we were having the special in order to continue to find additional revenue that was missing in regards to the contracts. So, because since we did, we'll have to ask for 57,000 for those contracts. So, I'll have to bring that on tonight. But we can talk about the county commissioners. So, on the county commissioners,
Do you have that?
we don't have it, we're gonna hand it up. They voted yesterday in BOCC in regards to what they would like to do moving forward with an administrative assistant. And so that is the reason.
So she'll hand out the.
Hold on one second. That's the reason why I hadn't submitted it yet, because I haven't received direction on that. I don't think everyone has. Oh, sorry. Okay, so on this one, as discussed in BOCC, G, yesterday's BOCC meeting, the changes to this, of course, are the increases that were provided for the commissioners and myself in regards to those merit increases, and then a request for $50,000 for an administrative coordinator. The other increase includes the increase in FICA benefits, defined contributions, and then the health premiums for those increases. The monthly mileage was under budgeted last year, and so I had to move funds up in order to account for it being under budgeted. But they receive a stipend monthly for $2,700, which is the 32,400, and then in case the person that we hire for the county manager coordinator needs to go to any type of training or travel for a purchasing class, I included some travel in the monthly mileage item, as well as some training under travel for that person.
Separate category for mileage from the monthly mileage? I know I think our budget reflects that. Yeah.
So monthly mileage versus
There's just a regular mileage, like we've asked for.
When you have to
Oh,
do
We had to
Then
do,
it
his
needs
is
to
less,
be
but we had
different.
to do the 9,600.
Yeah, I was
and then
just going off of the object codes that were on there, so we can change that object code.
Good.
Thank you.
So yesterday in BOCC, you had mentioned several times that the new position was gonna cost $75,000.
70. So I have some questions
Well,
about that.
okay, 70, but
So we have a $50,000 salary. You mentioned that in that 70 would also include all the benefits costs associated
Yes.
with the employee, some travel,
Yes.
and was there one other thing?
And then cell phone and parking.
Cell phone and parking.
And
For
so
all one employee, all that is 70 grand.
Yes, and also includes increase in my parking because we didn't budget enough because we didn't know what my parking was gonna include. And then there was an increase for some office supplies.
Okay, so when I take the 50,000 salary proposed in their salary worksheet, and then I look at the new position, and you have it assumed at family coverage, which I think is the responsible way to go, that's $75,000.
just those
You
two
take
pieces.
20% roughly, 19.65 of the 50 grand. We're coming up well short of what the BOCC approved.
That position's closer to 100,000 than
all things
70,000.
considered.
Oh, all things considered.
And
Okay.
so
Well, I just knew based off of here,
You
I wasn't
didn't
accounting
include, you
for
didn't
the life
include
insurance,
medical, you didn't
the life
include medical
insurance
insurance.
benefits. Okay,
Oh, you just did the FICA.
yeah, I just increased,
Defined
I was going off
contribution.
of what was the,
But that's not all of the expenses related to it. I mean, you've got it on this form of the individual having insurance, which is appropriate to
right,
budget for the insurance, but
but I
the-
wasn't accounting for this, the life insurance premium.
but that's a cost, right?
Right.
Yeah, so
so 25,000. Yeah.
So it's about $96,000 instead of 70.
So given that, I'm gonna have to have a conversation, with our office about the true cost
Yeah,
of the
no,
position.
that's my
whether or
mistake, I
not-
should have included those health insurance benefits later. I was just going off of the increase decrease and not accounting for the health premiums. And I was going off of what I knew, yeah, what was I just wasn't
Right.
putting out in premiums, that was my mistake. So we can run that back across, the suggestion, BOCC.
I think it would, I mean, obviously, we all represent a commissioner, but they approved including it at one amount. I don't know if that changes anybody's mind, so.
I mean, it is a total increase to the budget of 70 because we were accounting for the increase where I put it here, but I can see where we needed to talk about what that position could be hired for. I mean, it is included in the salary projections, for that new position here.
That is an expense.
But
that
yeah,
if you don't have it, then you won't have that expense. If you don't have that position, you wouldn't have that expense.
Right.
But it's included in the budget detail in regards to total.
The bottom line being 70,000, I don't think is what was stated yesterday,
Right.
though, and at least we voted.
Yeah.
My
On the
boss voted
salary and not
it was
the salary.
70,000 for the employee.
Joe, I'm more than happy to put that back on BOCC. It won't change District 2's vote, but it might perhaps for the two of you.
I also have another supplemental attachment.
Right, I think they should vote on what actually.
Yeah, all the benefits and salary. Just for your information, this is, since we created the county manager position, the number of services that I've provided for each department. And the help that has been provided by that admin person. So I have a whiteboard, and basically what we've done is just keep track of all of my tasks
Hey,
in
Cody.
regards to who those are being provided.
Did we receive all of these documents?
No, because the clerk's office is getting them, and then we'll receive all of them when they're finalized. So.
Just for your information, not really, we don't have for discussion, but. Okay, so we will table this and then I can bring it back on the 9th. And we'll put it on for next Wednesday.
I will, I'll take care of it.
Thank you. It's still just a $70,000. Yeah, it's just a $70,000 increase because it's been accounted for in the salary and the benefits line item under that 99,000, but we need to have approval. But I need to have approval from the commissioners in order to hire a employee at that total amount.
So I don't understand what we're saying is just a $70,000 increase.
Well, it's a $70,000 increase to the budget.
It's gonna be close, it'll be 100,000.
No, it'll be 100,000
So
because you've got to account for the health insurance premiums.
That means to what she
accounted for it.
submitted, she did account for the benefits in this, but then
isn't it
compared to what
accounted,
she
here, let's
submitted.
go back to my budget, just so I have an understanding. So under budget detail, I increased, no, sorry.
Yeah,
That's fine.
but Jessica, if that position isn't there, then the $70,000 that's on there goes away, but also some of your health premiums goes away, so it's gonna reduce it. If that position is not funded in your office, it's going to have more than a $70,000 reduction in your budget.
So, just so I know that I'm understanding correctly, so this was the total increase, I increased FICA, the defined contributions, and then also down here in salary projections accounted for an additional FTE. So, just so I understand, that is not accounting for.
It's reflected on your estimate of needs. It was not reflected during the discussion
Yes.
yesterday, I think is their point. I wasn't
And so-
there, I'm just,
Yeah,
that's
And so
what
I
I'm
just wanna
hearing.
make sure this is correct.
That's the
This
point,
is
but whenever
correct, but I
it
need
was
to
said,
ask for the
but when
budget.
it was said that it's a $70,000
Yeah.
increase, that's inaccurate.
I just wanna make sure this is correct. And then in regards to an increase to a position, then I need to ask for the total cost of that position.
Yes.
So,
I'm just looking here.
yeah, that's where I was looking to, and I didn't.
What is the total increase to the budget?
Yeah, the total increase to the budget is 70,000, but I.
No, it's not.
Okay, Okay, well, and then
It's
whatever
70,000 plus the 25,000 for
plus
your
the,
health
plus
premium.
what's included in health benefits. It's just, that's not the, I'd have to,
You have
it's
to,
included here. I mean, I don't think we would include it here as well.
Well, I mean, I think the issue though, Jessica, though too, is that the same thing we were talking about before, the benefits for last year are not included in that as well.
Right.
So that sheet's not providing the right answer
Right.
in column J 25.
That's not the same as last year's.
Yeah, because that 758 doesn't include the benefits from last year, so we're
So
back to
how do I
the.
capture here?
Well,
Don't
they're gonna have
worry
to
about
modify
that.
it.
Don't worry about that, but you know that the salary was 50,000, the benefits were roughly
I
10,
just
the
didn't
travel,
include it in
and then the medical insurance is 25,000. So you know that the total cost of that position is close to $100,000.
Yeah.
So then you also know that that $100,000 is in this budget projection. So if that position is taken away, your budget goes down by that 100,000, not by 70,000, but by that 100.
Yes, thank you. So we'll have that discussion next Wednesday and go from there. Thank you.
Thanks, Jessica.
Okay,
Thanks, Jessica.
I'm hearing that we may need a potty break.
Well, I don't know how quickly are we
What
gonna
else
move
do we
through
have to
these
do?
others.
There's
Yeah,
still
what else
all
do we
our other
have?
agenda items.
So the watch list?
Yeah, on the watch
There's
list,
more than that.
I would have a request there.
Does anybody object to doing a 5-minute
No,
recess
no.
to 11:40 so that you can use the restroom for those that need to use the restroom? Okay. We got a motion to recess for 5 minutes, returning at 11:40 in this room. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hang on, guys, we need to vote. All those in favor of recessing for 5 minutes?
Aye.
Okay, everybody
Yeah.
present. Voted. We're past our 5 minutes, so we'll go ahead and get back to it. Is there a motion to reconvene?
So move. Paul's.
Yeah.
Paul's not.
Oh, he's not, okay. We got a motion to reconvene, do we have a second? And we have a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
I'm just laughing at myself. I'm just.
If you can't laugh at
She's
yourself.
good.
It's all we can do
It's okay. I
sometimes.
definitely had my blonde moment for the day.
Okay, let's see here. If there's no objection, let's go ahead and just go back and take this stuff in order. Item 4, discussion possible action regarding any items currently on the BET watch list. Is there anything we need to discuss on that?
Do we have the ability to change the benefit number, or does there have to be a separate item?
No, we can change it. It's on the watch list, we can take some off.
So what did he say, 790?
790.
I'll make a motion to change the 300,000 balance that we have under employee benefits to 790,000.
Okay, any other discussion?
The only thing I had, criminal justice authority
All in favor?
left on.
Well, let's go ahead and vote on that just real quick, moving into the 790.
Discussion on that.
Yeah, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
And then taking off the.
Yeah, I just didn't wanna do it all together, but, I didn't know if, since we're reviewing stuff, if either through the watch list or reoccurring agenda item these next few months, we have something
I
that
think
allows us to talk about.
I think reoccurring agenda items
Okay.
would be probably better.
So I can take this all off the watch list.
Do you need a motion for that?
Yeah,
I'll make a motion to remove the items under the criminal justice authority off.
Second.
Got a motion second, and that is based on the action the budget board has already taken. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
normally when we do
I said-
recommend something,
It just automatically goes off.
yeah,
Yeah.
but this
Okay.
was kinda like a, do we low?
So the general fund reserve balance that's reflected at the 551 number, that number is correct
Yes,
after
yes,
yesterday's
Yeah.
action?
it is.
Okay.
Yeah, second page has the action from yesterday.
Okay, anything else on the watch list? Okay. Item 5, discussion possible action regarding any items currently on the county's future forecast tracker. Anything anybody wants to discuss on this right now? Seeing none, we will move to item 6. Discussion possible action regarding the schedule for departmental meetings, to ask questions about department's FY 26-27 estimated needs. I say no action, we can address that once we get all of this moved, presented, not received necessarily, but presented. Item 7, discussion possible action regarding policies, procedures, and processes and procedures related to FY 26-27 budget reviews and recommendations. Anybody have anything?
And I think this is probably the appropriate item to make the official request to the clerk's office to make those changes. I mean, because in addition to the stuff we identified as far as shoring up that benefits number, on the actual sheets themselves, it shows last year's insurance rates is the same as this year's, and I don't think that's right.
They are, so we have
They
the
are the same.
3.2 increase that was retroactive to January.
It was in September.
Yeah, employer is year to year, or no, employer is fiscal year. Employee is year to year, calendar. So the employer rates would not be retroactive to January.
Okay.
They would be on a fiscal year.
Take that back to the 900.
Just so we, again, if you're gonna be already there in the process of shoring up the spreadsheet, then that way we can compare true apples to apples on what the cost differences are.
Correct.
And it's not a huge difference, but it is some. It's not zero, so.
Yes, sir.
And if you could just take a look and make sure that the front page numbers match with the second page for instance, on the travel for the one budget was 14,000 versus the 10,000, so it was skewing all of that. So if you could take a look at all of those general fund budgets to make sure that works. Okay. Anything else besides that on there? Okay. Move on to item 8, discussion possible action to add an item to the watch list in an amount of $60,000, which may be necessary to ensure salaries and benefits are covered for FY26. This is requested by Brandon Holmes.
We need the money because we gave a bunch of raises. I'm kidding. Probably too soon. No, we've just had, since, in the last fiscal year, since July 1st, we've had 17 people that have retired. And for example, 2 of them were 80 years experience between the both of them. And so the total payouts are $167,050.82. Those are those final checks for 17 people that had left. And, you know, I don't expect that we'll need all 60. We may not even need all of it, any of it, but at least wanted to put it on the watch list. Juvenile put that on there. Kind of like Juvenile, we're in a weird position where, you know, we obviously have the option to just not hire that person back because the most payout they could have would be, well, in our case, what we run into is that some of these people, not only are they maxed on annual leave, they also have holiday leave because, you know, they're not Monday through Fridays. So I just wanted to at least bring that forward because we're not really in a position, again, kind of like Juvenile when they made their request, to push back hiring of patrol people or courthouse security or whatever the case is, because we've got to have those positions filled right away. But either way, we have been able to mitigate it by at least 107,000 of 167,050 that's been paid out. So I just had a request to put that on the watch list. May not need it, but I at least wanted it to be out there so, you know, we weren't coming in negative at the end of the year and nobody knew why.
I'll second that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to add $60,000 to the watch list for the sheriff's office related to the potential need for salaries and benefits related to payouts for this fiscal year. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. All right, item 9, discussion possible action regarding, or actually this is just discussion regarding 26-27 estimate of needs for Oklahoma County Assessors CAMA systems and the funding reimbursement through OSU. Go ahead, Mike.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's just a discussion only. This is something that, if you're unfamiliar with what our CAMA, which is our computer assisted mass appraisal system is, it consists of all of our hardware, of course, our software. It maintains all the property records for appraisal purposes, roughly just under 400,000 accounts. It accounts for the $1.3 billion tax roll that we produce. It also therefore generates the 82% of our general fund reserve that we use here for this purpose. The initial cost of that, of a system like that, is in excess of $1 billion, to kind of give you an idea of the investment that goes into it. It also houses 2.3 million photos. We do 13 million property searches with the public annually with it. It's a very key piece. It's what we have. It's every assessor has the system. Ours is a separate vendor, and kind of give you a little bit of background is that the state of Oklahoma had created a internal software piece that the majority of the counties use. About 66 counties in the state used it. It was somewhat of a mainframe system that they'd had for over 50 years. That's why we had never used it. Starting in 20 and 21, there was a talk that, is there a way for the state to update that or provide a vendor service for that, for the replacement of that? So they came up with a piece of the statute that takes a portion of revenue dock stamps, and that piece goes in to support the payments and financing of all these other counties. So of course, the major counties are the major contributors to that. I think our contribution portion is about 1.4 million that goes into that fund. So there is a provision in it that allows us to ask for a reimbursement up to 10% of that once the fund reached a balance of $2 million. So it took a couple of years before that really came into effect. And so you'll see that we did a first reimbursement ask invoice for the years 22, 23, and 24, just a little excess of about $410,000. And we just did another one for the year 25, which is about $142,000. That is money that comes back to us since we do not use that system. And the idea behind that, when it was created in the statutes, it didn't really go into the statutes that matter, but when it was relayed to in the assessors groups, that money would be a reimbursement back to those counties that don't use the state system to maintain our Canvas systems, to help pay for updates, support, services, hardware, those types of things. And so that money has been received, it has been deposited, and when that account was created, it was not created in a manner that it came back to the assessors group as a special revenue fund so that it automatically rolled into the assessors group. So as a result, it sits somewhat in of a general fund piece that it's sitting in right now. So that the discussion I wanted to have with you today is that our estimate of needs will incorporate some of this reimbursement funds. And the reason for that is if you have a server on the third floor across the hall in the MIS room, there's a major problem there with the cooling systems in there. We've had several instances where the server room has exceeded temperatures where we've either had to turn servers off or go in and try to provide extra cooling for them. So our goal this year is to invest in hardware so that we have a system that's at Midcom and another one offsite someplace else, perhaps even in the cloud, so that we remove ourselves from that environment, because I don't know that that's going to change anytime soon. We can't have a system that is not functional or is in danger across the hall. It's just plain and simple, we can't do that. We can't let a server burn up. So as a result, we've done some pricing on our servers, and I don't know if you've tried to acquire new services or hardware. Initially, these servers would run typically about $75,000 each. We're doing a mirror, so I would need two. The new prices on them, just quoted to us about 2 weeks ago, has climbed to $150,000 a piece. That's if you are to even acquire it within 3 to 6 months after the time you ordered. And the industry is consuming all of the components that go into servers and PCs right now. So when we go through our estimate needs this year, I just want you to remember that some of this reimbursement fund is what we are considering to use to do this project so that it doesn't come out of all of the funds here at the county. In our opinion, that money is sitting there for that purpose, for the assessors group to do that. It's something I'm not asking for any action today. I just wanted to inform everybody that that's what that number is and where it came from and how it came about. We will probably work with statutes next year to bring that revenue back to the specific special revenue account for the assessors group so that that money is earmarked and targeted for the specific purpose.
So you're saying over the years, it's basically $553,000.
That's what's sitting in there right now. Yep, that's what's sitting in there right now. Yep.
It's sitting in there?
Those is,
Well,
or it's been spent as a part of the general fund?
No, it's sitting in
it
there
hasn't
right
been
now.
spent. This was not factored into our current budget.
Right, it
This
came
is
in
money
after.
that's coming in that will be picked up to budget on the budget we're working out for 27.
So
Oh,
the
you got all
23,
this recently.
24 came
They all came in
All
in
this
one.
year.
And now this one.
Okay.
I thought I had the detail.
Yeah, that all came in
It's
back in October.
I just,
And then we just got the 25 just a couple of weeks ago. So it all came in after budgetary.
It's all,
pieces.
yeah.
And is this a fund, Mike, that you can go after every year for the, or
It's-
depending on the 2 million threshold?
Correct. And then depending upon the amount of dock stamp revenue that's generated, it fluctuates. So you'll see that those numbers are not, I mean, they're somewhat consistent over 100,000, but they range from 119 to 158. It just depends on how many properties are not sold. But we have talked about working with the assessors groups to perhaps increase that percentage maybe from a 10% to a new number. There was a bill a couple of years ago that proposed to bring 100% of that revenue back. I don't know if that number is going to be pursued again or not, but I do see a change coming hopefully in the coming years. But it's our way of looking at different revenue sources that we've not been traditionally looked at. So it's our way of trying to find money someplace else that we've encouraged other groups to here to do. So this is one thing that we've discovered, and once it hit that threshold, we made the reimbursement request.
So once again, this is revenue that Oklahoma County brings in over $1 million a year in the dock stamps, and the state keeps that money. And here they're willing to give us 10% of that so that they can take 90% of what we generate to help other counties with stuff.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure I was clear.
That's why we feel that that 10% threshold needs to change.
I mean, it's just, it's tough when you're the largest county in the state and there's so many other functions that you have to perform, and then you're subsidizing many of the others and you have less funding streams than some of the others. It just, it stacks on.
That's how we see it is, if we pay for ours, we feel that just as other counties should pay for theirs.
Mm-hmm.
It's no different. We're a bigger county, but we all perform the same functions. It just costs more money with us.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the info. Are you?
Yeah, no.
Okay. Item 10, discussion possible action regarding FY 26-27 departmental estimated needs.
Been there, done that?
Yep. I don't think we need to do anything else today on that. 11, discussion and possible action regarding follow-up questions on 26-27 estimated needs. We don't need that today. Unless anybody has anything else that they want to revisit on the agenda, I think we have completed
Move to
our
adjourn, or do we just
Second.
stay adjourned? Move to adjourn.
Okay, we got a motion to
my
adjourn. Do we
favorite
have a second?
Second.
We got a second. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed?
Didn't eat the whole bowl.
Yeah, those are just more complicated business.